when these murders happened. He was sentenced yesterday to 40 years after pleading guilty for first-degree murder in connection with one of those killings. Earlier today, Tahj Brewton, who was 16 years old at the time of those killings, he was sentenced to life in prison. And now we are awaiting a sentencing from a judge of Robert Robinson. He and Brewton are accused of killing not just Layla Silvernail, but also Michael Hodo Jr. and Camille Quarles. So just a few moments ago, we heard from some family members and loved ones of Michael Hodo Jr. We are now hearing, this is the grandmother of Layla Silvernail speaking now. You see her granddaughter's photo on the back of her shirt. A lot of family members inside the courtroom for this. Let's go ahead and listen back in as these victim impact statements continue to be read ahead of the sentencing.
As painful as it is to say, I hope, may God forgive me, that the boys who did this are haunted every day by what they've done. I hope they see Layla's face and the faces of the other victims at night. When they close their eyes, I hope they feel even a piece of the pain we now carry for life. Your Honor, I respectfully ask that you ensure that they never see the light of day outside prison walls. I know the death penalty is not on the table, but if it were, that is what I would ask for. Since it's not, I plead with you, give them the maximum sentence possible, not only for Layla, but for the other victims and for their families who will never be whole again. Thank you for this time, Your Honor, and may God bless you. Layla's lost and heartbroken Nana, Papa, and Uncle Jay, and Mom.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Jenna Schmidt. Jenna.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Judge. My name is Jenna Schmidt, and I'm here today to speak for about someone who no longer has her voice, my forever best friend, Layla Silvernail. I've known Layla for as long as I can remember. Our moms introduced us at the age of 2, and from that moment, we grew up side by side. She wasn't just my best friend, she was my sister in every way that it mattered. Her absence has left a hole in my heart, and in this world that could never be filled. From our family vacations to Maryland, West Virginia, North Carolina, and the beach, we were always having fun together. Although we had our fun moments, being together was what mattered the most, either in the yard tossing softballs or exploring her property. Layla was a rare kind of person. She had a big heart, and she had this light in her that was very bright and fierce. She was so full of life. She's incredibly smart, driven, and passionate about everything she's done, especially softball. Softball wasn't just a sport for her, it was her purpose, her dream, and her safe place. She pushed herself every single day, determined to make it to the collegiate level. She had dedication and fire that inspired everyone around her, and you couldn't help but believe in her because she believed in herself so fully. I could go on about me and Layla's memories, but you'd have to beg me to stop, so here's just a few. Layla's birthday was on Halloween, and the only thing she ever wanted was to go to Hollow Scream, and Nana made that happen every year. Every time, Layla brought me with her, which was the same birthday tradition that we laughed, screamed, and had a blast at. Every year, she went on my family's Christmas vacations to West Virginia and sometimes North Carolina, and for a girl who's never skied before, she immediately went down the Black Diamond trails. We would eat one too many Belgian waffles and go back to the house with red noses and frozen toes. Layla had one of the biggest hearts, and if you went out with her and had nothing with you, she'd give you half of what she had or all. She was kind, loyal, and always willing to lift others up even when she was struggling herself. She loved deeply and gave freely, and she didn't deserve the cruel thing that was done to her. Layla was brutally and unfairly taken away from us by these three individuals who were hurting themselves, and made me hurt as well. I struggle to understand why hurt people, and especially why hurt my best friend. But I'm no longer mad at today's individuals. I really do hope they find the peace that they need, even if they took mine away. Her future was stolen, her family and mine is shattered. I lost my best friend, the person I thought I'd have by my side forever. What happened to Layla wasn't just a tragedy, but it was an injustice. One that ripped a beautiful soul from this world far too soon. And I come before you, Your Honor, not only to ask for justice, but to remind you of who Layla was. A young woman with dreams, with purpose, and with a bright future she worked so hard for. She should be here today, chasing these dreams. Please consider the full weight of what was lost when you make your decision. Layla's life mattered, and so did the other two. She mattered to me, her family, our community, and everyone who had the privilege to know her.
Thank you.
The best friend of Layla Silvernail speaking there, giving her victim impact statement. As you see, Robert Robinson, who's been sitting at that table, he has been watching as these different people have walked up and walked back to their seats in the gallery after delivering those statements. We saw the father of Michael Hodo Jr., one of the victims in this, looking at Robinson for quite a long time as he walked back to his seat after delivering his victim impact statement. The hearing earlier today went about 90 minutes, so we do expect this to continue for quite a while. We're going to take a break here on Florida Live, and we'll continue monitoring this hearing. So keep it here on Fox Local. We have more coverage to come after this break. Welcome back into Florida Live. I'm Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday afternoon live on Fox Local and on YouTube. It's time now for our Tampa Connection, and for that we go to Fox 13 digital content producer Nancy Gay. And Nancy, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Garrett. Today we're going to start off in Polk County, where this morning Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd, as well as State Attorney General James Uthmeyer, held a press conference to announce that the arrest of 8 suspects involved in a multi-million-dollar fraud ring. Now, Sheriff Judd said this investigation began about 2 years ago when an online banking detective began investigating a new account that was opened by a Lakeland man because it had suspicious activity. When they contacted the sheriff's office, they noticed that the bank account had $250,000 deposited into it, and that money was quickly dispersed into other accounts. It turns out, according to Sheriff Judd, this was part of a bigger fraud scheme that began with a man named Antonio Penn. Judd said Penn was working at Enmity Bank and he had worked there for about 5 years, but he did not have access to everyone's bank account information. However, 2 of his co-workers, both of whom worked at that bank for more than 35 years, did have access to customers' bank account information, and Judd said that those 2 co-workers were giving Penn that information and access to that bank data. Judd went on to say that Penn was then giving that data to his old college football buddy who put the information up on Telegram. That's a platform out of Dubai. And from that platform, people would buy that bank account information and then start setting up different accounts. Now, Sheriff Judd added that it can be kind of difficult for banks to notice because sometimes the money that was being transferred was a couple $100 here, $1,000 there, and it was done intermittently, so it wasn't like a large sum of money was being transferred all at once out of these accounts. Now, Judd did say that there were about $8.9 million in stolen funds. The victims in this case, he said, were mainly elderly people. And he added that the 2 masterminds behind this plan only made between $70,000 and $80,000. Now, as I mentioned, there were 8 people arrested as part of this fraud scheme. Those 8 people are facing several charges, including racketeering, grand theft, as well as organized fraud. Now, Sheriff Judd did say that there are hundreds of more suspects out there. He said that banks, while they do work hard to protect your information and your bank accounts, they are only as safe as their employees. He added that when you are opening up a new bank account, he said it's important to ask that bank how your information and how your data is protected. He said one of the things to ask is, will there be a paper trail of any time anybody accesses your account? He says this is one way to at least notice the fraud at the beginning of something like this. Garrett?
And that's a good point. Some helpful information there about how to hopefully prevent something like this from happening. So some good information. Nancy, thanks. Story number 2, and that is a rare fossil found in Manatee County. What can you tell us about that?
Yes, that's right. This rare fossil is actually found by crews with Manatee County Utilities. They were actually digging a trench for a drainage line when they came across this, what we now know is a fossil. They thought it may be some type of a tool or something not important, but it turned out to be the fossilized claw of a giant ground sloth that dates back more than 11,000 years. Now, this Jefferson's ground sloth is a slightly smaller version of the giants that first inhabited South America. And we are being told that when South America and North America joined, those animals migrated up through Texas, Mexico, and into the southeast. Now, a giant ground sloth could get as large as a modern-day elephant. They could be up to 20 feet long, be 13 feet tall when they're standing on their back legs, and they can also weigh at least 8,000 pounds. Now, Manatee County Utilities, they brought this fossilized claw to the Bishop Museum of Science and Nature, where crews there are working to preserve it, and they eventually hope to put it on display. The Bishop Museum tells us that this is a 1 in a million find, and it's something that they hope other people can learn from. Garrett?
I tell you what, I don't mind seeing that as a fossil, but thinking of that as a claw of some creature is kind of sends a shiver down your spine.
Yes. Actually, one of the people that we interviewed were talking like, can you imagine that type of ground sloth, or Jefferson ground sloth in this case, just walking right down the street, just walking right amongst you. But of course, this was a very tropical wild area way back in the day. So it is, well, it is very impressive. It would definitely be a sight to see, to just turn around and see one of those animals right next to you today.
Oh, with the gators and everything else we have down here, that that's the last thing we need right now, I think.
Yeah, that's true. We do not need any ground sloths walking around, these 8,000-pound animals just
Right.
wandering
No
the streets.
thanks.
We definitely don't need that.
No, thank you. And story number 3, sunburns aren't the only things you have to worry about if you're spending time in the sun this summer.
That's true. One of the other things that we're learning you need to be careful of are called margarita burns. Now, these margarita burns, they come from eating or drinking something with limes, lime juice, or other type of citrus, and then sitting underneath the ultraviolet rays of the sun. Now, the Cleveland Clinic tells us that margarita burns are a type of extreme sunburn, and the reaction happens because some citrus plants contain an organic chemical compound that can make the skin more sensitive to the sun. So if you're making a margarita in the sun and you get lime juice on your bare skin, it can cause this type of reaction. The Cleveland Clinic says symptoms include red patches that are sensitive and tingly, as well as blisters. Now, signs of margarita burns don't always happen immediately, and they can appear 24 to 48 hours after contact. Now, limes, bergamot, oranges are some of the worst offenders of a margarita burn. Now, citrus fruits aren't the only things that can cause it. Other possible ingredients that can cause a margarita burn include carrots, celery, figs, fennel, wild dill, wild parsley, as well as wild parsnips. Now, you can still enjoy citrus in the sun. Just make sure to wash your hands and arms thoroughly after touching the citrus or some of those other ingredients that can cause a burn during food preparation. Now, if you do get one of those margarita burns, the Cleveland Clinic says it's important not to pop the blisters and to keep the affected area clean. It also recommends using cold, wet compresses as needed for pain. And it's also important to keep that area covered and out of the sun. Now, once those blisters heal, the Cleveland Clinic recommends making sure to keep those spots out of the sun and to apply sunscreen. Garrett?
Well, let me open my mic there. Fox 13 digital content producer Nancy Gay, we appreciate you joining us for our Tampa Connection.
Thank you.
We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back into Florida Live. I'm Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday afternoon. I want to get you back inside this courtroom in Marion County. That is a detective, one of the detectives in this case, who's on the stand right now, talking about some of the things they found on the phones of these 3 defendants who have been sentenced, and one now being sentenced. This is the sentencing hearing of Robert Robinson, the 3rd defendant in this triple murder of 3 teenagers back in 2023. So let's go ahead and listen in. I do want to warn you, we did hear some profanity in some of the text messages that were being read off a little bit ago that were found in the aftermath of this. So just want to warn you there. Little viewer discretion is advised here as we listen back in to this court hearing, sentencing hearing in Marion County.
Seat, there was 2 black males in the back seat. One that was going to, as he assumed, was selling him a firearm, except they didn't. They robbed him of $240.
Right. So he had 24 hours to buy a gun.
Correct.
When he got in the back seat, the 2 individuals in the back seat had guns and pointed them at him.
That's correct.
Ultimately, was Mr. Risco able to identify one of those individuals by a photographic lineup?
He was.
And who did he identify?
Robert Robinson.
Do you see Robert Robinson in the courtroom today?
Yes, sir, I
Can you
do.
please point to him, identify him by an article of clothing that he's wearing?
He's sitting right there wearing a red and white jail jumpsuit.
May the record reflect that witnesses identified the defendant?
Will so reflect.
And in relation to that, did William Risco tell you that he knew this person's name, or did he know him by a street name only?
We might have known him by a street name.
What was that street name?
Reaper.
Okay. And did William Risco know the other individual that was in the back seat with him?
He identified him as well.
Later. And he identified him initially as someone who was younger.
A very young male, yes.
And he was ultimately identified to be Christopher Atkins, is that right?
Correct. I believe he knew him as 3-5.
3-5.
Or had obtained that information.
Okay. Now, in the course of your investigation, did you also review the defendant's prior criminal history as a juvenile, of those things that he had been convicted of prior to him being arrested in this case?
Yes.
What were the charges that he had been previously convicted of?
I saw he had 2 battery convictions where he either hit a teacher or a detention facility personnel or employee. There was a grand theft off a curtilage that turned out to be a stolen bicycle, and a grand theft auto charge.
And all of those are felonies in the state of Florida, is that right?
Correct.
And those were just in 2022, 2023 timeframe, just a little before this homicide, is that
I
right?
believe that towards the latter end of 2022.
All right. I have further questions.
Mauro, you have any questions you'd like to ask?
Just a couple. Good afternoon.
Hey, sir, how are you?
I'm Jack Morrison.
Nice to meet you.
You interviewed Mr. Atkins.
Yes.
Yeah, and he told you a lot of things, correct?
Yes, sir.
Some of them true,
Yes, sir.
some of them not true.
Yes, sir.
All right, fair enough. You also subsequently participated in an interview with Mr. Robinson,
That's correct. Yes, sir.
and I think his mother was there at that time.
She was, yes.
Was she encouraging him to be forthcoming?
Yes.
And she cooperated in his eventual confession
Yes.
to you?
She did. She was very cooperative, yes.
And he was cooperative?
Eventually, yes, he was.
All right. Thank you, sir.
I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
On the, you say the note that was on the phone,
Yes, sir.
does that mean like in a notes application on like an iPhone?
Correct. Exactly that.
Is there any indication as to who wrote the note, whether the note was written on that phone or written on another phone and sent to that phone?
I believe it was just a note written on that phone.
Okay. And what's the basis of that belief?
It was on his phone, written in it and deleted from the note.
Okay.
But on Robinson's phone, whether he typed it or another one typed it, I don't know.
Okay, I appreciate that. And also the robbery of what is it, Mr.
Briscoe?
Vasquez. That happened on March 18th, 12 days before the other offense.
We're talking about a separate robbery. There was one earlier the day of the homicide.
Right, there was one on March 18th of Jackson Vasquez,
Yes,
Morales Vasquez. And the murder is listed here as March 30th.
Yes, sir. There was another
So,
robbery on the 30th.
Was that called in? Was it open? What was the situation with that?
We had gathered information that Mr. Risco was a victim of robbery of the victims and the suspects, and we went and interviewed him, and he was scared to contact law
So
enforcement.
it wasn't called in on March 18th?
No, sir. It occurred on March 30th, the day of the homicide.
Okay.
I think he's confusing the Jackson Morales.
Yeah, I'm talking about there was
robbery
one
with Willie
on-
Risco. Yes.
There was one, and I'm just reading the information, so, or the indictment, that lists the indictment, the robbery with a firearm. There's one on March 30th involving William Risco Jr.
That's the one I was referring to, yes, sir.
The other one, maybe you don't have the information, it's alleged to have occurred on March 18th, where the victim is Jaxel Morales Vasquez.
Yes, sir, that was Detective Stith's case.
Okay. But, and I maybe should have asked him, was that called in, or was it open? Do you have any idea?
Which, on the 18th?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
State calls Sergeant Brad Bartlett.
All right. It's not board.
Oh, actually, we have Detective
Detective Stith here.
Stith here.
If you want to bring it, he's already been sworn in.
Just to clarify that point, I think.
So I'll wait till you sit down. I'll ask him. I just wanted to clarify, you had been involved in the investigation of the robbery, you can have a seat, on Jaxel Velasquez.
Yes, sir.
Was that called in on March 18th, or was it not called in until later?
No, sir.
Judge Robert Hodges, they're asking for some clarifying points about a couple of different, other aspects of this case. These robbery charges that are part of this, that these defendants were indicted on. Let me check here to see about the. They did plead no contest to one count of robbery. That's part of what they're being sentenced for. Robert Robinson here today. Another investigator being called to the stand right now as this sentencing hearing continues. We're going to take a break here on Florida Live, but keep it here on Fox Local because we will be right back after this. Welcome back into Florida Live. I want to get you back inside this hearing in Marion County as we hear from I believe they said a sergeant with the sheriff's office there who was a part of this investigation into this triple murder back in 2023. Again, if you're just joining us here on Fox Local or on YouTube, this is the sentencing hearing for the third suspect in this. The other two have already been sentenced. 3 teenagers accused and charged in the killing of 3 other teenagers back in 2023. The first teen was sentenced yesterday to 40 years. He pleaded guilty to the first-degree murder of Layla Silvernail, who was a 16-year-old. That defendant, he was 15 years old. He was 12 years old at the time of those murders. Earlier today, Tahj Brewton, he was 16 years old at the time. He was sentenced to life in prison. He pleaded no contest to 3 counts of murder. And then Robert Robinson, his hearing going on right now, he also pleaded no contest. So this is sentencing hearing continuing. Let's go ahead and listen back in.
How did he first describe how the shooting happened and who did what?
The initial was that Brewton raised his weapon and shot Michael Hodo, and then immediately turned his weapon and shot Layla.
And how did he first explain how Camille Quarles was shot?
I want to say, to the best of my recollection, that that's when 3-5 laid the seat down and shot her.
So initially he blamed Christopher Atkins for shooting Camille Quarles and Brewton for shooting the other 2.
Yes, sir, and he took no responsibility for any of that.
Did his story to continue to evolve?
Yes, sir, it did.
Ultimately, was Robert Robinson questioned about an armed robbery that was committed around 6:30 or so that day regarding who we now know as William Risco?
Yes, sir.
Who did he say was present for that?
Himself, 3-5, Atkins, Michael Hodo, and Layla Silvernail. And I believe that he mentioned that Camille was in the trunk.
And how did he say that robbery was arranged?
All through Michael Hodo.
Okay. And what was the plan?
That they were going to basically get him in the car and take the money from him.
What did the defendant tell you happened during the course of that robbery?
I don't remember specifically.
Do you remember him telling you at all about Mr. Risco getting in the back seat?
Oh, yeah, yes.
Okay. Did he admit to taking Mr. Risco's money that he was going to use to buy the gun?
Yes, sir.
Did he say anything about a shot being fired as Mr. Risco fled the car?
Yes, I believe that he described Atkins as firing rounds off at William Risco as he fled from the vehicle.
Now, to be clear, the defendant never indicated Mr. Brewton was involved in that robbery.
Correct.
Okay. Where did the defendant say they went after they committed that robbery?
I think they went back over to the general area of the Malukas, where his house is.
Okay. And moving ahead to later in the evening prior to the 3 homicides, when they were driving around, who did he say was driving?
Layla.
Who was in the front passenger seat?
Michael.
Who was in the back seat before they went to Tahj Brewton's girlfriend's house and picked him up?
The 2, Atkins and himself.
How did the defendant say, he was dressed?
I want to say that he was dressed, he made mention of another event that they were going to take place in, and he had a single glove on one of his hands.
And according to the defendant, was there a plan to rob someone?
Yes.
Elaborate a little bit on that.
Apparently they had I don't know if it was pre-planned, but they were intending upon going to meet somebody that Tahj Brewton knew. He didn't know who it was specifically, but they were going to set up a robbery to basically steal some money or something from this person, whoever it was.
And the defendant said he was wearing a glove to avoid leaving fingerprints.
I think the glove was more towards some car burglaries that they kind of went into after they couldn't get a hold of the people to do that robbery.
Okay. Did the defendant say anything about what he did with his cell phone to avoid being caught?
I believe when they left town, headed towards like the area of the forest, that he had powered his phone down.
We've heard a lot of evidence so far, so I'm kind of skipping ahead with some things. What kind of gun did the defendant tell you he had in his possession during this event?
Ultimately, he said he possessed a black and color Smith & Wesson that had a purple laser and a extended clear magazine.
Did you come to learn that that was the same gun that was stolen during the armed robbery of Jaxiel Morales 2 weeks or so earlier?
Yes, sir.
Did he admit to stealing that gun and robbing Jaxiel Morales of that gun?
I believe so.
Okay. What kind of gun did he say Mr. Atkins had?
A Sky 9mm.
And what kind of gun did he say Tahj Brewton had?
Tahj Brewton had a FN, which was also a 9mm.
And we've already heard that 2 of those firearms were found during a search warrant executed at Christopher Atkins' house, found in his bedroom?
Correct.
Did the defendant acknowledge that those 2 guns found in Chris Atkins' bedroom were the ones used to commit these murders?
I believe so.
Or 2 of the 3 that were used?
Yes, sir.
What did the defendant ultimately say about who shot who first inside the car?
Finally, he admitted that Tahj Brewton shot Michael Hodo, at which time he raised the weapon that he had.
He who? The defendant?
The defendant, yes,
Okay.
I'm sorry. At which time he attempted to pull the trigger, or he pulled the trigger on the gun and it only clicked. He said he immediately attempted to shoot the weapon a second time. However, it clicked again. At that time, he claimed that Brewton then shot Layla, and that 3-5 then shot Camille in the trunk.
Now, the defendant saying that Mr. Brewton shot Layla Silvernail, that is inconsistent with what Christopher Atkins said happened.
Correct.
Christopher Atkins said that Mr. Robinson shot Layla.
That's correct.
What was his initial story about how Camille Quarles got shot?
That Christopher Atkins shot her from the trunk. And then ultimately he admitted that Camille was not deceased and that she was attempting to exit the trunk of the car, and he shot her a second time.
Did the autopsy of Camille Quarles confirm that she was in fact shot twice?
Yes, sir.
What did he ultimately say happened after the 3 individuals were shot?
That Layla was removed from the front seat of the car. He claimed that Brewton then entered the driver's seat and they went back into the neighborhood where Michael Hodo was removed from the passenger seat of the vehicle. Ultimately, Brewton, according to his claims, were that they patted him down. That Brewton patted him down, Michael Hodo, and took some marijuana and a gun from him.
What did the defendant say was done with Layla Silvernail's car?
They went back towards where his neighborhood is in the Moluccas. Ultimately, they took it to what we later found to be a cul-de-sac, and there's a retention pond or a pond at the end of this cul-de-sac. They drove it down a little embankment and got it stuck just barely in the waters. There was allegations that the vehicle was wiped down, and they attempted to remove Camille from the trunk of the vehicle, but they were unable to.
Did the defendant say anything about what was done with Layla Silvernail's and Michael Hodo Jr.'s phones?
They were thrown into the water near the vehicle.
Was the lake eventually searched and those phones recovered?
Yes, sir.
What did the defendant say he did with the clothes he was wearing?
I believe he told us that he gave them to Tahj Brewton for him to destroy them.
Was a burn pile? Was it a burn?
Yes, sir. There was later some clothing or remnants of something found a short distance from where the vehicle was abandoned.
Was that found between where Layla Silvernail's car was located and Christopher Atkins' house?
Yes, sir.
Were you familiar with the note that was found typed on Robert Robinson's phone?
Yes.
Okay, and that was found on Mr. Robinson's phone?
Correct.
Thank you, sir. No other questions, Your Honor.
Tomorrow.
Good afternoon. It's Jack Morrow. A lot of people saying a lot of things, correct?
During a homicide investigation, yes, sir.
In your investigation, a lot of people told you a lot of things.
Yes.
All right. Some of those things were true,
Correct.
and some of them were false.
Correct.
Right. I assume that it's not uncommon for persons who are, I guess, in a situation where they're involved in criminal activity to not be forthcoming. In other words, lie.
Yes.
All right. And also, it's not uncommon to minimize their involvement in things. Isn't that a fair statement?
Yes.
Right. But eventually, as things go on, the truth kind of comes out. Is that a fair way to represent it to you?
That.
Right. So when you interviewed Mr. Robinson, he was there basically to speak to you. He didn't have to speak to you, did he?
No, sir.
No, in other words, he could have just said, I don't want to talk to you at one point.
Yes, sir.
Right. But you got his mother, because of his age, you got his mother to come down.
Yes, sir.
Correct? And she actually encouraged him to speak with you.
Yes, sir.
Right? And my understanding is that his initial, based on what you're telling us, is that his initial forthcoming of what happened was just totally not true.
100%.
And his mother realized that, I believe.
I think she noticed it very quickly.
Right? And she encouraged him quite stressfully to tell the truth, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that's when things started developing at that time.
Yes, sir.
So did you believe at the end of this interview with you that the information that you had received at that time appeared to be forthcoming and tied into a lot of other information you received?
I believe that some of the information that he provided was truthful. I don't know if 100% of it was truthful, correct?
Right. And there came a time that he actually spoke to you. I think his mother got concerned and asked that she wanted to get him an attorney.
Correct.
Right. And then after she left, he actually on his own reached out for law enforcement, and he wanted to kind of tell the whole story.
Yes, sir.
Right? And that did happen.
If that was the whole story, yes, sir.
When he talked to you at that time, did that information you received basically coincide with what you knew had happened?
Somewhat, yes.
Right. When you say somewhat, what
I
was
don't know if every fact lined up, but yes, the majority of the stuff that he was telling us during the final part of the interview seemed to line up with the information that they had received during their investigation.
Right. So it validated the investigation and what happened in most part.
Some of it.
Right. Thank you, sir.
So how long was the interview of Mr. Robinson?
Off and on, I think he was in the interview for approximately 8 hours.
During the 8 hours, did he ever say why they did this?
The why was because of wanting a firearm that Mr. Hutto had.
Okay.
And I don't believe that it was his desire to have the gun, but it was more of the other gentleman, Mr. Bruton's desire to have the weapon.
Was there anything particularly unusual about the other guy?
I don't know if there's, I'm not familiar with that type of gun. If there was anything that was like outlandishly good about this gun compared to what they had already possessed, I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Is he excused?
Yes.
Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Your Honor.
Sentencing hearing continuing of Robert Robinson right now in Marion County. That's Judge Robert Hodges, who's been presiding over all of these cases in circuit court there. We're going to take a break here on Florida Live, but we'll be right back and get you back inside this courtroom here in just a couple of minutes. Welcome back into Florida Live, continuing to monitor this sentencing hearing in Marion County as we await the sentence of Robert Robinson, one of 3 teenagers charged and who has now entered a plea in connection with the deaths of 3 teenagers back in 2023. This is another investigator with the Marion County Sheriff's Office who is on the stand right now. Let's go ahead and listen back in.
Yes, and I wasn't able to find it at first, but once I did a deep dive through the entire extraction, I was able to find geolocation data suggesting that that phone was in that area during the time frame that the burglary was believed to have occurred.
Okay. And those credit cards, in addition to being, or the debit card, in addition to being attached to the defendant's Cash App account, were also attempted to be used online. That's what the victim was explaining to you, some charge he didn't recognize.
Yes, but he was able to prevent the charges from going through.
All right, moving on to the second case. I want to talk to you about a case that occurred around March 14th of 2023. Did you investigate a burglary of a vehicle that occurred in the Maluka area where a 7 Maluka Run Lane?
Yes.
And what was stolen? What were the facts known to you when you did that investigation?
There was a lot of information on that one. There were multiple vehicles burglarized in that same little area in just a few streets of that little neighborhood.
Okay.
One of the vehicles that was burglarized had a firearm stolen as well as a Hello Kitty purse,
Okay.
which were some unique items that stuck out.
All right. Now, there's nothing necessarily unique about a firearm itself, but was there something unique specifically about this firearm that was unique enough that when you were doing your investigation, you were able to determine that the defendant was the person who had taken it?
Yes, it was a very small handgun, like a vest pocket type handgun, and it had a white handle.
Okay.
It was not a very common firearm.
All right. And also, you said there was a Hello Kitty purse taken as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
Were you aware that Major Crimes, I know you were because you looked at the phone extraction, but were you also aware that Major Crimes executed a search warrant on Christopher Atkins' residence just a couple weeks after these burglaries occurred?
Yes.
And were any items that were located at Christopher Atkins' house tied to this specific case we're talking about here with this firearm and this Hello Kitty purse?
Yes. We actually found the firearm itself, like I said, very unique caliber with the white handle. Actually contacted the owner of those items, confirmed with her on the phone through further description as well as the purse. Okay. And then there was another a knife that was also found at the location that was rather unique, that was confirmed to be another victim's.
All right. And it was found in Christopher Atkins' bedroom, is that correct?
Yes.
So it was a little odd that a Hello Kitty purse would be in a male's bedroom, right?
Yes.
Now, you had previously testified about in a prior case that you had looked at the phone extraction. Did you see anything on the phone extraction of the defendant's phone, that being Robert Robinson, that attached him to this case, like the firearm that you discussed?
May I review my report?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, in the cell phone extraction, there were photographs of Mr. Robinson as well as Mr. Atkins holding firearms, and one of them was the firearm that was stolen.
And that was that unique firearm, with the small firearm with the white handle. That was unique. Okay. All right. Then finally, also around the date of March 14th, did you investigate a grand theft of a motor vehicle, that being a side-by-side that was taken from the 37 Maluka Run Drive area of Ocklawaha?
Yes.
What did you know about that case as you began to investigate it?
When I began to investigate it, I obviously discovered that it was stolen. There was a witness who was a neighbor that had saw some things go down and notified the victim of it. I also discovered later that there was pictures of a side-by-side that matched, that also came from Robert Robinson's phone.
Okay. So you saw this side-by-side that had been taken, there was a photograph of it inside this defendant's phone?
Let me confirm that, but I believe that was the case. I was incorrect on that. It was Michael Hodo's phone, Michael Hodo Jr.'s phone.
All right, but you saw pictures of Robinson with that side-by-side. Is that right? I'm just trying to understand what you said. I'm sorry.
Not of them necessarily, but it was, not necessarily with them with the side-by-side, but they were on the phone as well as the side-by-side.
Okay. Was there also some video surveillance from the area where the side-by-side was taken?
Yes.
And were you able to look at the clothing of the individuals that were, at least one of the individuals that had stolen this side-by-side and match it up with the clothing that maybe the defendant was wearing in one of the photographs in his phone?
Yes.
Now, did you look at Michael Hodo's phone as well? His phone, you said that you saw a picture there from there, so I'm assuming you did his extraction.
I know Detective Stith had provided me a couple of those pictures.
Okay.
Which was what I used to compare with the footage itself. I don't think I ever got to look at an actual cell phone extraction from Mr. Hodo's phone.
Were you aware in the course of your investigation that there was text messages between this defendant and Mr. Hodo talking about planning on taking this side-by-side?
There was text messages between them planning something.
Okay. Were you aware of a text on Robert Robinson's phone which was the day after the theft, where he says, "I'm going to have someone pull up in a U-Haul for that ATV tomorrow"?
Yes.
And also a couple days later, where he texts Michael Hodo and says, "I'm going to go to the house where that ATV is," and then says he changed it to "was."
Yes.
All right. Any further questions?
No questions.
Thank you, sir. Is he excused?
He is, Your Honor.
Thank you. Anything else?
1 second, Your Honor. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Mr. Morrow, any evidence you want to present?
Yes, sir. You ready to go?
Yes, sir.
You want to take a break, or you want to go right at it?
We're ready to go?
We would call Erica Trump.
You just come to the podium. No, to the podium, man. Yeah, thank you.
Judge is actually a witness.
All right, there's a microphone there. So if I say, but go ahead, go to the witness stand. Ma'am, you raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm the information you shall give us the whole truth and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, sir.
Have a seat.
Ma'am, state your name for the record and spell your last name.
Erica Trowell, Trowell.
All right. And are you related to Mr. Robinson?
I am. I'm his mother.
You're his mom. And tell me a little bit about yourself. What kind of work do you do?
I'm actually the retention specialist for West Shore Home. It kind of falls in the category of sales.
And are you native to Florida, or did you come from one of the snowbirds from up north?
I'm not. We moved here in July of 2021. Just wanted to change. Like, wanted something better.
And in preparing for today's hearing, I asked you if you would like to have an impact statement, also provide some testimony, and you indicated you would.
Yes, sir.
And in fact, you actually drafted a letter, which is marked for us right now as Exhibit E, has been previously provided to counsel to the court. Is that a letter that you authored?
Yes, sir.
Right. Would you read that letter to the court, please?
Sure. My name is Erica Trowell, and I am the mother of Robert Robinson, who is currently before you for sentencing. I write this letter with a heavy heart, fully aware of the pain and gravity of the situation. I do not wish to make excuses for what has happened. I am simply asking that you see the human being my son is and the potential for redemption that still exists within him. Robert is 19 years old. He is my child, and while he has made a devastating mistake, I know he is not beyond saving. He has expressed deep remorse for what has occurred. He is not proud of what happened, and he has shown sincere sorrow, not only to me, but to others as well. I have watched my son reflect on his actions with shame, regret, and heartbreak. He understands the consequences, and I truly believe he wishes he could take it all back. Growing up, Robert was smart, curious, and a respectful boy, but not without challenges. He helped care for his younger brother and had dreams of becoming a football player. But like so many young men, he was influenced by the wrong people and found himself in situations that spiraled out of control. As his mother, I will carry my own share of guilt for not protecting him more. But I also know who he is at his core, someone capable of compassion, growth, and change. Your Honor, I'm not asking you to ignore what happened. I am only asking for mercy, for the opportunity for Robert to prove that he is more than just his worst decision. He is still young. I ask you to consider a sentence that allows him the chance to grow, to get help, and to one day come back to society a changed man. Our family is committed to supporting him through this journey, no matter how long or hard it may be. With the right structure, guidance, and accountability, I believe he can make something of his life again, and I will stand with him and by him every step of the way. Thank you for your time and for your consideration and for considering this letter during such a difficult and serious decision. I pray that justice is served with both truth and compassion for all parties involved.
All right. Ms. Rowell, tell us a little bit about Robert growing up at a young age. When you had Robert, were you married?
No, I was not.
All right. Your relationship that you were in, what type of relationship was that?
Well, I was a teenager.
Thanks for watching Florida Live. If you're watching us on YouTube or on Fox Local Orlando, we are going to continue with this hearing in Marion County. If you're watching on Fox Local Tampa, you will have your regular programming coming up at 3 o'clock. See you soon.
Where did he grow up at? What state?
Kentucky.
Right. What was it like for him growing up in Kentucky?
As a kid, it was normal, but like I said in my statement, not without challenges. I kind of learned early on that there was some issues.
When you say issues, what kind of issues?
Behavioral.
Okay.
Mental health challenges that I seeked to try to get some answers for.
Right. Did there come a time that you got some answers and subsequently got some evaluations?
I did. It was...
About what age?
He was 5.
Okay. Good. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
He was 5 when I seek the appropriate help to have him evaluated by multiple doctors, and it was ultimately determined that he had some mental health issues that he went on Social Security for.
Right. Did he actually qualify for Social Security?
He did.
And what age was that?
He got approved for Social Security about 7.
All right. Now, has he been consistently on that disability, the mental disability, until present day?
Yeah. I received a letter once he was indicted that the Social Security would be ceasing as he is in the custody of the state.
Okay. So from age about 5, 6, all the way through 17, you were receiving Social Security for a mental disability?
Correct.
All right. You indicated that there was behavioral problems in addition to the psychological aspects. What type of behavioral problems?
So Robert has impulse control issues, ADHD, and he was diagnosed with opposite defiant disorder.
Does he have problems processing things?
Yeah, so with the impulse disorder, it takes him a minute to process things. Like if something was to happen, it takes him a minute to like process and really realize, excuse my language, oh shoot, this has happened.
Was he receiving medication and, I guess, therapy while you were in Kentucky?
Yes.
All right. Now, when you moved to Florida, what happened to, I guess, the medical aspect of it and the therapeutic aspect of it?
I can take some accountability that I did not follow up accordingly. as I should have, just with moving to a new state, trying to get settled, trying to find doctors. I dropped the ball.
Was he having problems in school?
Yes.
Right. But yet he kept moving along.
Correct.
You had mentioned something about No Child Left Behind.
Correct. So when they implemented the No Child Left Behind Act, it became a point with most students where whether you can do the work or not, they're going to move you along, especially if you have an IEP or something, working against you, they'll still move you along whether you're ready or not.
Did you have concerns that he was showing deficiency as far as educational background and ability to read and write?
Yes, which is why I sought to make sure that the proper things was set into place, like with him getting extra time, extra help. He had actually had a resource teacher that went with him to classes to be able to re-explain to him what the teacher had just explained, so he could still be within a class with his peers, but just needed that additional guidance.
Was he having problems making friends at that time?
Yes, but no, he's honestly more of a loner.
Well, did he ever get involved in sports?
Yes, he's played football since the age of 5.
Well, did he play football up in Florida?
When we first moved here, he tried to get on the team at Lakeware, but then the switching of school kind of took that away, as well as he had, he had concussions and things in the past that limited what he could and couldn't do on the field.
Right. So due to some kind of physical shortcomings and concussions?
Correct.
Football was no longer an option?
Correct.
Once he lost that outlet, did you notice any type of behavioral changes?
I did. He didn't have anything to gear his mind to. Like, football was an outlet. It kept him busy. It kept him focused. You have to have certain grades to be able to even step on the field. So when that was took away.
Were you aware of the fact that he was dabbling or utilizing alcohol and drugs?
I found that out about 13. I called him. Told him don't disrespect my house, because it got to a point where it seemed like he was going to do it, not in my control, but I asked him not to disrespect my house.
Okay. You indicated he was a loner, but did he ever change when you met a gentleman by the name of Tahj Brewton?
It did. They became friends fast, and I also heard the name Sosa.
Going back a little bit in time, you'd indicated that you were in an abusive relationship.
Yes. Prior to my husband, I was a single mother, doing the best I could. Robert grew, like I said, I had him as a teenager, so Robert grew with me. Robert seen things that he shouldn't have seen. That, there was a point in time where I got my kids taken away from me.
You had indicated you share some blame in where we are today.
I do. If I can honestly say, I don't take any blame as far as the actions that was done, but as far as like some accountability of following through on his medication or exposing him to my domestic situation that I couldn't get myself out of, that is where I take, blame.
Right. After this incident occurred and he got arrested, we reached out and the court appointed a psychologist to evaluate Robert, and that information was shared with you, was it not?
Correct.
Right. Did you find some things in there that were, I guess, eye-opening as far as things that you just didn't know?
Yeah, I did. I knew he had issues, but I didn't realize how bad they were. But his explanation of things kind of clarified some things for me.
Also, when unfortunately, this developed and you became aware of the allegations, you actually cooperated with law enforcement?
Correct.
You took Robert, or he was already there, but you met with Robert and law enforcement and encouraged him to be forthcoming?
I did.
And my understanding is when you believed he was not forthcoming, you actually became aggressive in prompting his truthfulness to come out?
I did.
Right. And then you found out, unfortunately, the sordid tales of all of this.
Correct.
Now, he's been over at the Marion County Jail for, 800 and something days. And you've talked to him pretty regularly.
Every day.
Have you seen any change or growth in him?
I have. From when he first went in, it was no accountability at all. To the person that I'm speaking to today, and he knows the gravity of what had happened and what he's facing, and the next steps of the outcome of, today.
Right. Has he, during these conversations, he showed you not only maturity, but the concept of understanding exactly how he got to where he is today?
Yes, and I think it goes back again to, it's a process for him, and I think because he's had time to reread and rehear us say and re-go over all the things, it's finally clicked for him to realize this is real.
Do you think he's at the stage of his intellectual growth and age that there's hope for him? I know it's always a mother's prerogative, but is there hope for him?
I believe so. I feel like there's hope for anybody, right? But I feel just what he's shown in even the 2.5 years that he's been incarcerated, that with the right, like I said in my statement, guidance, programs, things laid out for him, he can actually show that he can be a good Samaritan in society once again.
Judge, I would tender the witness at this time.
State.
Just a couple very quick questions for you, ma'am.
Okay.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
In the letter that you read a few minutes ago, you said he was influenced by the wrong people and found himself in situations that spiraled out of control. I'm assuming you're referring to his juvenile cases and the cases that bring us here today.
Correct.
Okay. But before he came to Florida, when you guys were in Kentucky, he got into trouble there, didn't he, in Kentucky?
In school.
Okay. And in fact, he stole your grandparents' gun and brought it to school, and it was loaded, right? Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, I don't.
Can I approach, Sean?
Yes, sir.
Showing you some summary notes from the school records. Just kind of read that paragraph down. Maybe that refreshes your memory.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna be honest with you, do you have a date on that? Because I moved to Florida prior to Robert coming down.
Let's move along to whatever's next.
Okay, so you moved to Florida.
I moved in June. He didn't come until late September.
So at the time this would have happened, you would not have.
That's what I was about to say. I was very unaware of that.
Okay. Reading what I just gave you.
Let's move along to whatever's next. If she's not aware of it, I don't think her reading it would be appropriate.
Yes, sir. No other questions. Thank you, ma'am.
I have no other questions at this
All
point.
right, thank you. Have a seat, ma'am.
Thank you.
Judge, at this time, I have no other live testimony, but subject to conversations with the state and agreement, and the court's been given copies. I'd like to introduce these things into the record as evidence at this time.
Sure.
It marked as Exhibit A for identification.
We just heard from Robert Robinson's mother talking on the stand there, asking for mercy from the judge, talking about the potential for redemption, saying she hopes her son can hopefully someday be more than just his worst decision, as she said. Also talked about some behavioral issues and other things that he has dealt with. His attorney is entering some exhibits into evidence right now. We're going to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back after this.
Evidence and arguments, but if you want to do it.
That's right, Mr. Robinson. Mr. Robinson.
Okay.
Welcome back into court. We are about to hear from Robert Robinson himself. Let's listen in.
Judge, my name is Robert Robinson. Now I've accepted responsibility for my actions.
I just want to make sure the record's clear. Mr. Morrow, you are reading something from Robert Robinson.
I am reading, yes, sir.
Right, well, I'm just, if a transcript is done, it's got to be clear as to who's saying what.
That's a deficiency when we have Mr. Blue Man involved.
Right.
For the record, I am, sir. My name is Robert Robinson. Now that I've accepted responsibility for my actions, entering a plea, I stand before you to learn my fate and readily accept whatever decision you make. You've learned more about me in the last few days than the entire 825 days that I've sat in the Marion County Jail and this case has been going on. It's odd because I've learned more about myself in the last few days than the entire time that I have been in the Marion County Jail, especially when I read Dr. Saunders' report, deposition, and the things that have been said about me. After reading all of that, it's hard to accept the fact that you really don't know who you are at times or even understand why. I always known I wasn't very smart, but I guess I tried to hide behind that, being too smart with my behavior, and I tried to hide behind wrongdoings, what now looks like stupid reasons. I never thought I read at a 5th grade level. My mother exaggerates when she says I was a product of No Child Left Behind in the educational system, and I cannot sign my name. I can sign my name. What really I do and cannot do is express myself. She's right, I'm not very good with words, and that's why I've asked my lawyer to be me today, so that I could speak to you. The words you hear from him may not all be mine, but please understand the thoughts that Mr. Morrow has helped me express over the past few months while I was in the Marion County Jail here today are. Someone can always do better. I should have done better in school and in life. Mr. Morrow and I talked about people looking in mirrors and looking at what they see. I never really saw who I am. If I did, I would have learned that the future is guided by what you see in the past. Mr. Morrow has told me something which I've come to understand. Knowing something and realizing it are two different things. I've come to understand that about that mirror thing. Some things you just know are, but you never realize what they are until one day the knowing becomes the realization. Some of the things I did for obvious self-serving reasons, but I cannot explain to begin and explain why I did what I did regarding the homicides. There would be no words to make it right. What is even more troubling is how I ended my friendship with those I shared things with. Yes, we were partners in crime, but we were also friends. We did things together. I let them down. I let others down. I let myself down. Nobody failed me. I failed myself and all those around me. I was the minister, the person, and the scourge, the entity. Those are fancy words that Mr. Morrow used with me, but I've come to understand and realize what they mean. I put myself here. My record shows you who I am. Seeing it, you must think very poorly of me. How could you do otherwise? But that's okay at this time. I think poorly of myself. I guess after football, I lost interest in the things around me, and most importantly, myself. As I mentioned, I've come to learn about myself in Marion County Jail than all the years that I can remember. People will say I am what my record says I am. It is a tale of me that will be heard. Hopefully someday my tale will be one that can be fully, positively told. That's why I ask you to choose how you sentence me. Judge Hodges, I will continue to learn by going where I have to go and where you choose to send me and for how long. Maybe I will learn the skills to better myself and come to know more and one day be able to speak and express some of the things that I've asked Mr. Morrow to say and do for me today. I am putting into words today with what I truly feel is who I am. Hopefully someday I can help those who, like myself, have gone so far astray. I can only ask for forgiveness from those that I've hurt the most, knowing well it is something that is difficult from some and cannot be given to others, by others. Nonetheless, I can only say one thing. I'm sorry.
Mr. Robinson, is there anything you personally want to say?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
I'd like to apologize to my mama and my loved ones for the actions I have committed. I'd like to apologize to the victim family for the hurt I brought upon them. I made bad choices. It ain't no excuses for my choices. I'm not gonna make excuses for it or blame anybody but myself. I just want to apologize.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll take a short break and then we'll finish up our arguments and be ready to go. About 10 minutes.
Taking a 10-minute break in the Marion County hearing. We are tracking storms over central Florida right now. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Noah Berggren streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. While we are in break from court here, we are going to go ahead and listen in to Noah as he tracks these showers and storms, some of that tropical moisture, heavy downpours at times. So let's go ahead and listen as Noah tracks these storms for us this afternoon here live on Fox Local.
As was expected. Now, if you're right on the immediate I-95 corridor, you're probably dry through the rest of the night tonight. So outside of these areas, a lot of storms. Now, let me give you a track of this big storm here. We'll zoom in, show you a tremendous amount of lightning here. Hi, Michelle Reed. Hi, Terry. How's everybody doing? Let me know where you're watching from. Give me a like, a heart, a shout out. We're on YouTube, we're on Facebook, and soon to be Fox Local, but I've got my feed here. So if you want to say hello, please give me a shout. I would love to see your questions. Our Wi-Fi just cut out on me, so let me get my feed pulled back up here while that's loading so I can see your comments. Right over Altamont, Lake Mary. The worst of the storm is probably now done in Lake Mary, but going through Altamont, Maitland, so heads up Apopka, big thunderstorm coming in. Let me put this on the hail tracker, and you can see there is some hail. Turn off the lightning. Right here between Maitland, Eatonville, and Winter Park, probably some marble to pea-sized hail. You can see that there between Fern Park and Lake Fairview. Now, our own meteorologist Jessica Dobson happened to be venturing around and reported what probably was a downburst from this thunderstorm about half an hour ago. And let me bring you to the terminal radar. This is from the MCO area. Now, I want you to look what she's referring to. Change this color. Yes, it did. Captiva raining in it. Thanks for that. Winter Garden clouds, but some thunder, Melissa. Oh boy. Let's see. Hello from Ocala, Kelly. Kelly, it's going to come into Ocala in the next, let's say, half hour. Nothing on Orlando, Nadia. It will shortly. Cocoa Beach, can you bring the coastal 7-day forecast back? Brent, ask and you shall receive. I love that, Brent. I will. Thank you for reminding me of that. That's a great reminder. So shout out, Brent, for that. If you're in the Villages, some rumbles, a little small thunderstorm here right over Lady Lake. Nothing too big there. Further to the south, we've got some thunderstorms around the Celebration and Four Corners area. It's raining over Magic Kingdom. It did rain over Magic Kingdom. It's pushing to the north right now. Further to the east, some thunderstorms here by St. Cloud, but there's 3 sea breeze collisions about to happen in a couple different areas. Is there going to be a lot of storms tomorrow? My husband's talking about going deep sea fishing. If you're going in the Atlantic, no, not at all. Not at all, Kevin, for tomorrow. Not at all. So I tease that there's about to be a monster sea breeze collision across our area. Let me pull it up here on the radar. Let's see if I can get this. I want to make sure I draw it correctly. Yeah, I'm not getting good internet to pull up the... Oh, here it is. Okay. So we're about to have a massive sea breeze collision. Let me turn off the towns. And what do I mean by that? So there's the sea breezes and outflow boundaries all about to collide. There's one right here. You can see that there. There's one here. There's one here. One here. One right here. And then there's the boundary that's causing this Lake Mary storm like that. So this one's moving this way. This one's moving this way. This boundary's moving that way. This boundary's moving this way. This one's moving this way. And this one's moving that way. So we're about to have the mother of all collision of storms here over the Orlando area in the next hour. Because what happens when all of these boundaries hit each other, you just get a huge explosion of storms. So in this area, there should be monster storms, and in this area, there should be monster storms in the next 90 minutes. So again, right here, and then over in here, because of all of these boundaries colliding, there's going to be some monster storms in about an hour. And if you want to see what I'm referring to, you can come in here into Osceola County, and you see these little green lines here. Let me put this on a shorter loop. You see these green lines? These are outflow boundaries right here, and right here. So what's happening is that this one on the right is the Atlantic sea breeze. It picks up dust and birds and bugs and things. This is an outflow boundary coming south from a storm earlier. This is an outflow boundary coming north. So once all 3 of these things collide here, holy kaboom, you're going to have a big thunderstorm that forms between St. Cloud and Lake Poinsett. Keep an eye on it where it tracks. So there's going to be a big thunderstorm. Now up over here, you can't see it as well on this radar, but I'm watching it from my radar on my phone. You've got a boundary here and a boundary like here. Then there's this boundary coming up from the north. So moving like that, like this, and like this. So somewhere between Ocoee, Claremont, the theme parks, Davenport, Kissimmee, downtown, and Altamont. I'll clear all that off. So the point is, somewhere in here too, in the next, let's say, hour, there's going to be mega storms. And then somewhere over here, there's going to be mega storms too. And once they form, we'll see which direction they track. The upper level winds should push both of these clusters of storms once they form that way. But trust me when I tell you, in about an hour, maybe I'll come back on here if there's a couple severe warnings, or yes, I'll see you in the news at 5. Both of those boxes will have really, really big storms. So heads up in both of those areas for that. But here's the zoomed out area, and as expected, a lot of rain and a lot of storms today. But the strongest storm on the board is still this one right here, with just tremendous lightning and what came through Lake Mary, now in Lockhart, going into Ocoee. See that there, and then also a big thunderstorm here into Four Corners. So statewide, this is the system that's going to potentially cause a tropical depression to form over the next couple of days in the western Gulf. And you can see here over towards the Tampa area as well, some really big thunderstorms there. So let me put this on the statewide view. If you have a question, comment, concern, please send it to me on YouTube, Facebook. We're also on our Fox Local stream online. But let me pull up some of your comments so I can see what y'all are saying. Spring Hill Joy, yeah, it's about to rain there really good. Sounds like a land hurricane, Kelly. It's raining pretty good. Spring Hill Joy, got your comments and your questions here. Hello. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching, everybody. Hope you've had a great day so far. High winds, Melissa. Some of the storms will produce a couple 50, 60 mile an hour gusts. For how long the storms will be in St. Cloud, Lamaris? Probably about at least another 2 hours. What about tomorrow on the West Coast, Kevin? Different story. There'll be a lot more storms on and off the West Coast. A lot less, though, for later this week off the West Coast. But on the satellite, it's interesting. Let me put this on the satellite. If you look, there's a lot of clouds over Florida and a lot of clouds up over here. This is a just general area of low pressure that's sitting over Florida right now. Let me turn off the town labels. There's low pressure sitting right over Orlando right now that's tracking west. And once this gets into the Gulf over the next couple of days, it does look like it may have a chance to produce a tropical system later this week, but not impacting us. So the storms that are out there now will move into the Gulf tomorrow, and there'll actually be at least a chance of a tropical depression or a storm going towards South Texas for the weekend. So once this energy crosses by, it's actually going to dry out and get beautiful here for the weekend. Beautifully sunny, but it's going to be really hot for Saturday, Sunday, and into Monday. But the energy that's over us now will potentially become a tropical entity going away from us later this week. Let me pull up some cameras for you so you can see some of these things here, because we do have some really good rain that is coming down now across the area, except for Daytona Beach. Meanwhile, it's just a beautiful beach day up there. Here's our Lake Mary camera. You can see the slowdown of traffic on I-4 as you would expect, because it is in fact pouring. Not pouring right now from the Lake Fairview camera, but let me pull up our downtown view. We've got several downtown views here, and I'll show you some models through the rest of the evening coming up in a second. Here's the downtown view. You can see up on the top there's one of those big downpours looking off. Now, the heat index currently across our area, let's take a look. You can tell obviously where it's rained and it hasn't, but where it hasn't rained, it obviously feels really hot. 100 in Orlando, 102 in DeLand. And the temperatures across the area, you can tell again where it's rained and it hasn't. 79 in Sanford, but it's still 90 currently in the Clearmont area. So let me pull up some models here, and let's talk about the rest of the night. Let me pull some of those up. If you have a question, a comment, a concern, please. I'm on Facebook, YouTube, Fox Local. Hope everybody's had a great Wednesday so far. Busy day in the office it will be for sure. This will take my camera full so I can dial up the dial up for y'all the future cast for the rest of the night. If you have a comment, please put it in there. Love to hear from y'all. Nothing severe right now, but there could be a few severe warnings in the next hour, I think. Going up at about 5 o'clock, I think we'll see a few severe thunderstorm warnings. Let me get this like that. Let me change this model, make sure it's the most recent, so what I'm showing you is accurate. So let's get this dialed in like that, There we go. Okay, so let me look at some of your comments quick, and then we'll show you the future cast. Will it hit Tennessee, Beverly? Probably not, no. I have a serious question about a sky clouded sea every day in the same spot. What's the question, Kelly? You're welcome, Brent. Good afternoon. How does Ocala look later? Benny Peters, there'll be some bigger storms in Ocala in about an hour. Nothing severe than Ocala, though. Sunny and beautiful in Titusville. Why are you so dark in the studio? Macarena, I can't pronounce your last name. I actually like working in the dark, first of all. The background for the stream, I think, looks better with just me lit here in the foreground. Let's see. Joel, you don't like storms, I hear you. Raining in DeBerry, says Sheila. So let's talk about the future cast now through the remainder of the night. So here it is. We'll start you at about now. And you can see the future cast actually doing a pretty good job picking up on this area of storms around the metro. So here we go through the remainder of the night. And notice we get storms that reform. Here's 5. Notice what this is an outflow boundary. See how this boundary here is working like this? So there's a wave of storms now, and there'll be more storms that form through the evening. And note the time at the top of your screen. That's about 6:30. So we've got these storms now. 3:30. Here's 4:30, 5:30, and then notice more come in from the south. 6:30, 7:30, 8:30, and then we're done by 10. So storms now, more storms this evening, and then by like later evening, 10 to 11, it's done, and then things clearing out heading into tomorrow. Let me show you the future cast going into tomorrow, because some of you have asked about that. So the rain chances are going to go down, and go down a lot heading into the weekend. But here's tomorrow. It should be dry in the morning. Tomorrow afternoon, there should be a few more storms coming in. Is it going to be a lot? I doubt it. But notice here's 5:30 tomorrow. Notice there'll be some storms tracking like this tomorrow, as opposed to like this today. So tomorrow, the storms, there's less of them, and they're not as strong. They track from southeast to northwest across central Florida. So through the remainder of the night, let me pull up some of the projected rain totals here. Look, showing models for rain totals in Florida with summertime convection. Meteorologically, it's not that it's impossible. It's just kind of impossible, because the spontaneity of these storms, you know, there's no way of knowing specifically which town is going to get hit or not. But this is the latest high-res model for rain through the evening. And just notice, I'll query some of these areas. You can see the red here. See if I can get some of these on here. The red on here, that's 4 inches of rain. The yellow is 2. So the point is there'll be pockets of 2 to 6 inches of rain. And I'm going to go back to the live radar and show you. There's the satellite, which shows this area of low pressure over Florida. To get you back here and put the labels on. Here's the rain so far today. Let me stop this, turn off the lightning and the warnings and the labels. So notice here's the rain so far today. You can see we've had areas of 2 inches plus of rain. I'll put the towns back on here. See, right over Winter Springs, we've already had today 2.6 inches of rain. In the center of Altamont, we've had 1.2. By our TV station Lake Mary, 1.2. In center of Maitland, we've had about a half an inch. Over to the east by Port St. John here, right off I-95, you can see just so far the last 6 hours, 2.3 inches of rain there. Over by Magic Kingdom in Four Corners. In the theme parks, you can see right here in Four Corners, almost 3 inches of rain today. So where you see yellow on here is 2 inches of rain, and we see that the green is over half an inch. So through the rest of the day, there'll be some areas that it's just pockets of 3 to 6 inches of rain through today. Let's see. Nancy says nothing. We're seeing nothing as usual in parentheses in Lake County. Well, Nancy, you're going to get some there in a second for sure, because if you look to your east, some big thunderstorms here coming. I don't know where you are in Lake County, but should be something here soon. What will Panama City see, sir? Beverly? Probably nothing major for tonight. Hasn't seen any in Goldenrod. You will probably there soon, Kevin. Probably soon, I think you will there. Nothing in Davenport. Catherine, give it a few minutes. It'll pop up there. Macarena.
You've been listening into Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Noah Berggren, who is tracking those storms and showers over Central Florida here. He's going to keep doing that live on YouTube and on Facebook. You can join him there. We are going to get you back inside the courtroom here in Marion County as we await sentencing for Robert Robinson, who is charged and has entered a plea in connection with this 2023 triple murder. Let's go ahead and listen in.
Factors that are contained in Florida Statute 921.1401. I think through the presentation of evidence throughout both these 2 days, the court's become very familiar with the nature and circumstances of the offense committed by the defendant. In particular, this defendant, the offenses committed by the defendant. He stands before you today charged with 3 first-degree murders and 2 armed robberies that were all in a short time frame, but nonetheless, those are also crimes that he could receive life in prison for. and he should. It's clear from the evidence, and we know that although it is true that the defendant did give a statement to law enforcement that his mother did encourage him to tell the truth, he wasn't entirely truthful. And we know at the very least he was not totally truthful, because initially he said that it was all Tahj Brewton that did all of the shooting. And then he said, well, Chris Atkins did it as well. But what we know about this case from the forensic evidence is that there were 3 firearms used in this case. And in order to believe the defendant's story, there would only be 2 firearms that would have been discharged and actually expelled cartridges in this case if his story was true, that it was Tahj Brewton and Christopher Atkins that acted alone. And that's just not the case here. We know that there were 3 different firearms used, including the one that he was involved in robbing William Risco of hours earlier. That he and Tahj Brewton robbed Jackson Morales of weeks earlier. Now, we also know that his DNA was located on that firearm. We also know, and that was a firearm that was used in the homicide based on the forensic evidence. So again, that's why I suggest to you that he discharged a firearm and did kill at least one of these individuals. And I think if you look at Christopher Atkins' statement, which we, as the court noted yesterday, and as we acknowledged, his information was the most accurate. And I think that the facts are pretty clear.
Atkins?
Christopher Atkins, yes, sir.
Okay.
That his statement was the most accurate. It seems to me that the evidence is most consistent with what Mr. Atkins says, and that is that after, and I'm just going to talk right now specifically about the date of the homicides, that after this defendant and Christopher Atkins steal a firearm from William Risco, and one of the 2 of them, discharges a firearm in William Risco's direction after they do so. Hours later, they go pick up Tahj Brewton. And when they go pick up Tahj Brewton, it's not Christopher Atkins that goes and talks to Tahj Brewton and walks him to the car. It's this defendant. And it's this defendant's phone that has this note that says, if we bang Layla and Sosa, you have to shoot the girl in the trunk. I'm cleaning up the language. So that's on his phone. Those are on notes that he wrote and deleted. That would be the argument of the state. Now, I guess one could say, well, maybe someone else wrote that note. I don't think that's really consistent with the evidence. What's consistent with the evidence is because Christopher Atkins' story says they were spring talking about looking at the phone, the 2 of them were. The evidence is then that Tahj Brewton shot Michael Hodo in the head, and that the defendant, Robert Robinson, shot Layla in the head. And the medical examiner confirmed that they were both shot in the head. Then we have the situation where the car hits that dumpster after Michael Hodo had been shot. And Christopher Atkins' testimony, or his statement, was that the defendant told him, Christopher Atkins, that he needed to shoot Camille Quarles in the trunk. And that when he did, because he was fearful and she wasn't dead, that the defendant shot her again. And I think that that is consistent with the evidence that we saw, the forensic evidence, as well as the testimony from the other witnesses as well. So I don't think, in reality, that the defendant was entirely accurate. I think some of what he said was true, but not all of it. And I think when you look at his...
The note, Mr. Robinson in his statement said that Mr. Brewton gave him such a note.
Correct.
Or typed out such a note. You suggested that Mr. Robinson may have actually typed that note.
I think
or at least
that's
it's on his phone.
Sure. I think that is the most likely scenario that, it's very rare you would give a person would give someone their phone to type a note to give them back, right? The defendant had his phone with him, and on that phone, there's that note that was deleted after the fact. It was typed in the notes section. It wasn't a text message sent. It wasn't anything like that. It was in the notes section, which usually is something that a person individually types in for themselves. So I think most likely it was Robert Robinson who typed that note. I think that it's pretty clear that Robert Robinson was the one that was influencing Christopher Atkins, because when Mr. Atkins is involved in this robbery hours earlier, Robinson's the one that feels he's fearful of him. Atkins is the one that's hanging around with Christopher Atkins on a regular basis. But Robert Robinson doesn't just hang around with Christopher Atkins, he hangs around with Tahj Brewton, because we know that just 2 weeks earlier, he and Tahj Brewton steal one of the guns that was used in this homicide because they wanted it. That's just the simple fact. And we know that Mr. Robinson has a history of stealing things that he wants. We know that he committed multiple burglaries of vehicles, that he stole a gun in at least one of them, that he stole someone's credit card and tried to use that credit card. So I would suggest that his criminal behavior, as it relates to these cases, are something that weighs very heavily in favor of giving him a life sentence. He had no compunction robbing someone at gunpoint. He had no compunction firing at someone. He had no compunction to shoot someone. So then we have to look also at the effect of the crime on the victim's family and the community. And again, as we discussed this morning, I mean, what else is there to say but that obviously the victim's family and the entire community, I mean, just look at this courtroom, they're crushed. They're crushed by the deaths of these young people. They're crushed by the deaths of Michael Hodo, Layla Silvernail, and Camille Quarles. There's no getting around it. And someone to write a note saying that they're going to bang Layla and Hodo before they shoot Camille. So then you have to look at the defendant's age, maturity, and intellectual capacity. While it is true that there's been some testimony from the defendant's mother that he suffers from some mental disabilities, it's also interesting to note that he is the oldest of the three defendants in this case. That he was 17. He was almost 18 at the time of this event occurred. Had he been 18, we wouldn't even be having this hearing today. He would have gotten a life sentence because that's what he would be in, that's what we'd have to get. So I think that's something to consider, that while he may in fact have those things, we also know that he makes decisions on his own without any problems. He makes those decisions, and it doesn't seem to be necessarily that is, as the next factor suggests, is it the effect of immaturity, impetuosity, or failure to appreciate risks. It would be true, and I know it, with all due respect to his mother, when she said, don't punish him for this mistake. This isn't one mistake. A mistake suggests that you do one thing and you try to correct the error your ways. What this defendant did was break into cars, steal guns. Mind you, he had already beaten up school employees. He had already stolen other items previously the prior year. Then, 2 weeks before this, he and his friend Tahj Brewton steal a firearm from somebody else that's used in this very homicide. Those are not the actions of someone that just sort of impulsively decides to do something or a simple mistake. That is someone who plans those things out and someone who has intended to do those things. And then what is the extent of the defendant's participation? I think that's clear. I think he's clearly involved in this case. He participated certainly more than Mr. Atkins, and on par with, at the very least, if not more than, Tahj Brewton himself. Then we look at the nature and extent of the defendant's prior criminal history. As I indicated, he does have those 4 prior felonies as a juvenile, that he has the battery on school employees and a grand theft of a vehicle, as well as a grand theft from the dwelling of a curtilage. The nature and the effect of any characteristic attributable to the defendant's youth on his judgment. Again, he's almost 18. So I think if you look at it on a scale, as someone grows in their age, you start with someone that's 12, okay, we have to really take into consideration their age. But as you get to 17 and you're on the verge, I mean, in December of that year, he would have turned 18, and if you're on the verge of becoming 18, you're much closer to an adult than you are to a young person, a teenager who is just making decisions exclusively due to their youth. And I think it's also important to remember that specifically Jackson Morales, when that firearm that was used in this homicide was stolen from him, he had a specific conversation that he, the defendant, and Tahj Brewton having, which was that they were going to rob Sosa, and Sosa is Michael Hodo. And lo and behold, when Michael Hodo got shot, according to the defendant's own words, they patted him down before they dropped his dead body on the side of the road and stole items from him. I mean, that's a robbery. And so I would suggest that those factors weigh heavily in favor of him getting the most severe sentence, because these are the most severe crimes. And the legislature designed our criminal punishment code to punish people for their behavior when they commit the most severe crimes. And in these circumstances, with all due respect to the statute and into the situation that the defendant finds himself in, I understand that he would like to be rehabilitated, but liking and wanting to be rehabilitated are not the same as showing your behavior suggests that you deserve that favor. And there's nothing in his behavior that suggests that he is deserving of the grace of something less than what the legislature intended for people to get when they're convicted of homicides. And not just one, but 3 homicides. and that is that he served life in prison. Thank you.
Mr. Mom, what sentence do you think is appropriate in this case?
Judge, I had filed a sentencing memorandum and
Yes, sir.
provided you a copy of it.
I have it
along
here.
with the exhibits and shared with the state.
In the notebook?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I'd just like
I have it here.
to go into it. First of all, the
And
factual...
I have already reviewed it.
Right, but I would still like to tie
Yeah,
in
no
my-
problem.
The multiple charges in this case, this court is well versed, not only from the factual issues, but presentation of the state as to, what happened and didn't happen in this case. And I think one of the things that when they interviewed Mr. Robinson, his commentary as far as a judge knows everything that he has, all the information, and I believe that is exactly what is necessary. I'm not going to go through the factual scenarios and critique on them specifically. All I'm saying is this court, as I indicated to you, you're going to be asked to pass judgment. The judgment is on the mind. Yes, there's the physical body that carried out these acts, committed these crimes. But you need to know a mind. If you're going to judge the action, let's talk a little bit about the mind that preempted those actions. In the pre-sentence investigation, which has been introduced to the court, you find a sketch of Robert Robinson. He's now 19 years of age, and basically he's standing on the verge of goodbye. Everything, all these actions that led him here today, there cannot be condoned. They're just basically, when you look at the totality of the circumstances, senseless. So there's no specific answer what considerations got us here today. But if we could just digress for a second. Ms. Trowell, his mom, gave you a little background, which is important. She, teen pregnancy, alone, had a son, was 2 years old. As he grew up, subjected to trauma in the family, this becomes important because, as Dr. Kropp even advised, and as the articles regarding studies, one of the most important aspects of determining the development of young people is you look back at the formative years. So at 2 years old, he loses a father to being shot, murdered. He's along with a teenage mom who indicates to the court that goes through domestic violence areas, and she seems responsible, reliable in her information. She's not condoning behavior, and she's forthright. I could have done better. I have some contribution to this. Things he saw he should not have seen. She found out at an early age that he had psychological problems. She made an effort to have those evaluated. She was being treated in Kentucky at 5 or 6, I believe it was, and he was going to therapy. Came down to Florida for whatever reason. Sounds like it was somewhat of a hardship. She came down without Robert. He was left behind. And she told you, I dropped the ball. He wasn't on his medicine. I didn't follow up on his therapy. And she was candid. He's had behavioral problems. There was problems in school, these types of things. Then he realizes that, he's having problems learning. And if you go to exhibit number 2, in Dr. Saunders' report, I make reference to it, indicates that he's basically, he didn't test him per se, but he gave a guesstimate that he believes he was reading on a 5th or 6th grade level. And what was kind of interesting is when I spoke to the lady who did I forget her name right now, who did the PSI report, she was kind of concerned also that for some reason he was not processing the questions and the information and deferring everything to, go ask my mother, go ask my mother. So one of the comments that Dr. Saunders made is that he was having difficulty with the questions, even with Dr. Saunders. So his mental age certainly was not corresponding to his physical age. And was he part of this No Child Left Behind? I don't know, but when your own mother says you can barely sign your name and you have trouble processing things, that tells you something here. So that's a consideration. Again, it's well informative of who you are, is what you perceive the world to be. And now in his early stages, he has violence, he has, with a death, he has a disruptive, dysfunctional family with abuse. mother was actually taken away. He was taken away from his mother for a period of, 6 months or so because of the situations. Not the most stable of environments. Is there worse? Yes. Is there better? Yes. Does it give rise to condone this behavior? No. But it's a consideration of how we have gotten to where we are. When you go further in these reports, you find from Dr. Saunders that there's other considerations. In addition to the mental shortcomings that Mom knew about, he's diagnosed with other shortcomings, almost to the point where even bipolar considerations. And when they talked to Dr. Saunders about that during his deposition, which is exhibit number 3 into evidence, he talks about how bipolar is a very sneaky mental illness. It comes and it goes. Some days are fine, some days it can sneak in. Don't know what was going on with this young man's mind at the time, but factoring in that he had mental deficiencies that could in fact, control, so to speak, driving the bus, that's a consideration for the court. Alcohol and drugs apparently came into play here around the age of 11, 12, whatever the case may be. He was not obviously on drugs when he was talking to Dr. Saunders, but Dr. Saunders also mentioned that that is part of a growing factor or criteria involved. He found solace in sports. His mom said he was kind of a loner, had a hard time making friends. He had behavioral issues. Found football. That seemed to be the outlet. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. I think he had a couple of concussions, and my understanding, she didn't testify this, but in my research, he has taken to a hospital because of the concussion. So now sports, his only outlet, is gone. Mom mentions that he forms a relationship with Tahj Brewton, a solace one. He found a friend. And that made a big influence on his life. One of the things that, age-wise, he was the oldest of the group. When you look at Dr. Saunders' report, he has him maybe reading on a 5th or 6th. He has him maybe reading on a 5th or 6th grade level. He has an IQ in the 70s and maybe the 80s. And maybe he's the oldest, but if I remember Dr. Kropp guessed that Tahj Bruton's IQ is probably in the 90s. So physical age may not be the controlling factor here, as far as influence on others are concerned. The aspect which Dr. Kropp testified to, and which is in Saunders' report, and also in his deposition, and in the articles that I was able to provide to court, that the consideration of emotional immaturity or lack of intelligence, there are always considerations within the judicial justice system. We have youthful offender acts. Of course, it does not apply in this particular case. But if this was just other charges, the court could take into consideration the age of the intellectual, et cetera, et cetera. That's not available, but yet it's in the system as far as providing a psychological assessment as concerned to, mitigating factors. I'm going to kind of go fast forward. You've had an opportunity to look at my memorandum, but when you look at the historical development of all these factual scenarios that Mom talked about, that Dr. Saunders talks about, and the studies that we presented to the court, there are personality disorders and mental orders here, and they are at the age. This seems to be the magic age as they get older and close to that 25. The projection of understanding, acceptance of responsibility, developing the concept of consequences for actions seem to develop further. There is a correlation between a psychological maturity in young people and the association of psychosocial maturity. And that is one of the aspects. Dr. Saunders, in his report, Judge, talks about mitigating factors under Statute 921.00262. He says I've been able to identify some of those in Robert's history, revealing multiple mental health disorders, personality traits. These can be considered mitigating factors. This, coupled with a below-average intelligence, as referenced by Dr. Saunders in his report and his deposition, I would probably put him in the low average or below average range. He probably would test somewhere in the 80s or mid 70s as far as IQ goes. But that is my best guesstimate based on my interview and his educational status. But I didn't test him at the time. Dr. Saunders failed Mr. Robinson. He should have gone further, but it didn't go further. And because of some glitches that went on, he was not here today. Mom was concerned about this theory of no child left behind, educational-wise. She saw it, and she saw the problems that he created in a young Robertson. Looking at what I've been able to determine, Judge, it looks like he has an adjustment disorder with depressed mood, unspecified attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, oppositional defiant disorder, adult antisocial behavior, along with multiple health disorders and personality traits, all that may be considered as mitigating factors. And that is in Dr. Saunders' report. So unlike Tahj Brewton, all right, he has a lot of intellectual baggage. Does it condone the behavior? No, sir. It's a tool, though, that we're asking the court to consider in judging him and the consequences that he is actually charged with and what he's done. It's a long tunnel, and I will tell the court that I've spent some time with him at the Marion County Jail. I found him to be sincere. Actually, Dr. Saunders said when he was evaluating him, a lot of people try to fake bad. He said that Robert was trying to fake good. He was trying to make himself look better than he actually was. And he then even said, he tested a 6th grade level, but there's still some questions he didn't quite understand. The lady that I told you earlier was Emily Glenn, Judge. She's the one that did the PSI. And she actually raised concerns to Mom about the fact that he was having problems understanding and processing what she was asking about. So right now you have a young man, as I said earlier, standing on the edge of goodbye with all types of psychological considerations for the court. I understand, people want fairness. I understand that. And I indicate, if this was an Old Testament, it's an eye for an eye, and that leaves the world blind. There's some hope here. His mom says there's some hope here. I think if you read Dr. Saunders' report, there's some hope here. With light, and it's at the end of a sentence, there's encouragement. Encouragement is compared to despair. With light, there's always an opportunity to do better as opposed to do nothing. He can give something back. He can never replace what he's taken away from not only these people and their families, but from himself and his own family. That's never going to change. But with the correct direction and alternate education and opportunity, he can make things better for those to come before it's his time. That consideration, Judge, I'm not going to recommend a sentence. You've heard enough facts in this case. You've got the reports. Just treat him the best what you believe to be fair and appropriate for his state of mind. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Judge, just briefly, I want to make sure it's
before you
clear.
start, do you have a score sheet?
I do. Just to be, just to sort of clear up a point, Mr. Morrow says that if he wasn't for the homicides, he would qualify for youthful offender. That's not true. He actually has 2 first-degree felony punished by life, which sexually he wouldn't be qualified for a youthful offender even if you took away the homicides, and he could still get life in prison for those as well. It doesn't make a difference, but I want to make sure that that's clear. And also, it's also interesting, he references Miss Glenn, but what he doesn't reference is the fact that Miss Glenn, in the PSI, recommended that he get a life imprisonment term as well.
Mr. Morrow, have you reviewed the score sheet?
Yes, sir.
Is there any errors in it?
No objection, Judge.
Do you agree that the score is 132.3 months is the minimum score indicated on the score sheet without any sort of departure?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Morrow, do you agree that as a part of this plea, the defendant agreed that he to read what was on the plea agreement, that he actually attempted to kill or intended to kill the victim in count 1, count 2, in count 3?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I will find that the defendant did, based on that stipulation, based on the facts that have been presented to the court here, and the evidence that's been presented here, that he does meet the statutory requirement that he actually killed, attempted to kill, or intended to kill the victim in counts 1, 2, and 3. Do you agree that the minimum sentence would be, well, there would be a minimum sentence of 40 years, correct?
That is correct, sir.
And there would, and as we've gone over, is that the statute requires that he would have a review after 25 years on counts 1, 2, and 3?
Yes, sir.
And there is a 10-year minimum mandatory on, is it on all, both?
Both robberies. That would be count, I believe that would be count 4 and 5.
Both robberies with a firearm?
Yes, sir.
There's a 10-year minimum mandatory in that.
That is correct, sir.
And that the review period, should he be sentenced to 20 years or more, would be 20 years.
Yes.
Does everyone agree to that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's try to get the smaller cases out of here first. But I need no further argument or sentencing. So on case, and bear with me because I'm trying to read a computer and do all this. And anyways, on case (23 CF 2935), has been adjudicated guilty of grand theft of a motor vehicle, third-degree felony. Be sentenced to 132.3 months in the Department of Corrections. How much credit does he have?
800 and...
Can it be the same credit for everything?
Well, since he's been in the Marion County Jail, Judge, 800 and, I believe it's 61 days. I'll double check and get back.
Yeah, let me know what the credit is. So we'll figure out the credit in a second. On that case, there's a $100 fine, court costs, $100 cost of prosecution, and I think you were privately retained, sir, is that correct?
I have been privately retained,
Okay.
yes, sir.
So $100 cost of prosecution, $100 fine and court cost, 132.3 months Department of Corrections.
And Judge, just to be clear for the record, he was represented previously by RCC on those counts that they were his attorney when he entered the plea, and then Mr. Morrow stepped in on the burglary and the theft case, just to be clear.
Yeah. I think Mr. Morrow did the work on most of these cases, is that correct? But, well, let me just go back. On these cases, there was RCC.
Correct, on these cases.
On the small
RCC.
cases.
On the small cases, yes, sir.
Mr. Morrow, I stand corrected.
Judge, I apologize. I'm just on the homicide case, sir. I apologize.
You're right. Do we have his attorney here for the other cases?
No, we do not. My understanding was that he entered the plea on that, and that he was just going to be wrapped up all at one time with the homicide case. That was all I understood.
Okay.
Judge, to answer your
Is that everyone's understanding?
Yes, sir.
Is that, I mean, obviously the main cases are homicide cases, is that he's going to be sentenced here on these cases without the attorney who represented him? Honestly, I didn't think of it until right this second.
About it, so, yeah, I mean, that was my understanding.
Is that correct, Mr. Robinson?
Moment, Judge, please.
Who was his attorney? Is it Bernadette Russell?
It was Ms. Russell. Before that, it was Mr. Yeah, it was Ms. Russell was the last person I had him, though, yes. Mr. Stone had him prior to that, but yes.
He's fine with that. I thought he was fine with it. He's reconfirmed.
Is that correct, Mr. Robinson? I can always sentence you on those cases another day if you would like.
No, Your Honor, you can sentence me today.
You want Mr. Morrow to represent you as far as the overall sentencing for all of your cases?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right.
Judge, to answer your prior question, 825 days, sir.
825 days?
825, yes, sir.
Is that the correct amount, Mr. Robinson?
Yes, Your Honor.
I mean, quite frankly, because he's got a minimum of 40 years on the homicide, he'll long exceed his sentences on the other cases. So, 132.3 months in Department of Corrections. In case number 23 CF 2934, be adjudicated guilty of burglary of a conveyance while armed, grand theft of a firearm, and petty theft less than $100. Don't believe it was charged where there would be a minimum mandatory in that burglary while armed. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay. In that case, he's going to be adjudicated guilty of burglary of a conveyance while armed, or so 132.3 months in Department of Corrections, 825 days credit, $100 fine court costs, $100 cost of prosecution, $100 cost of defense, and there was $100 cost of defense on the first case I read off. That was the 2935 case. 23 CF 2933, adjudicate guilty of burglary of a conveyance, or serve 132.3 months in Department of Corrections. He also has a fraudulent use of personal identification information. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
That is count 2. Count 3 is petty theft, $100 or more, but less than $750. So be adjudicated guilty of all those offenses: burglary of a conveyance, fraudulent use of personal identification information, and petty theft, $100 or more, but less than $750. On counts 1 and 2, 132.3 months in Department of Corrections. $100 fine and court costs on count 1, $100 cost of prosecution, $100 cost of defense, 825 days credit. Count 3, petty theft, first degree misdemeanor here, 364 days in Marion County Jail with federal for 364 days. So the sentences on all those 3 cases are concurrent, okay? They're all served at the same time. Here's a score sheet for those offenses. But there's also offenses from the other case on it, but I assigned the score sheet.
Yes, sir.
So that brings us to the main case. In that case, he's going to be he's got count 1, first degree murder, count 2, first degree murder, count 3, first degree murder, count 4, robbery with a firearm, count 5, robbery with a firearm, count 6, tampering with a physical evidence. He has all 6 counts. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, of course, in going over the sentence, I've gone over all the material that's been given to me. I went through all the criteria in Florida Statute 921.1401. I weighed each particular criteria individually. I've also weighed his age, which was 17, the time of the offense, his maturity level at that time, his background, his intellectual capacity. I've considered the background information that was on the pre-sentence investigation. I've also considered the pre-sentence investigation recommendation, which is life imprisonment. I've considered everything in the sentencing memo notebook here that was submitted by the defense. I weighed all the evidence presented here, including the evidence that's in here by Dr. Saunders. And I weighed the argument by all the attorneys in the case. I would say I've weighed all of that, but I've weighed it against the seriousness of these offenses, which is at the heightened level of all offenses in the state of Florida. And I've also looked at his participation in those offenses. I've looked at, among other things, he himself admits he shot Miss Quarles, in his words, because she was still alive and could snitch on all of them. He claims he did not shoot Miss Silvernail, although by his own words, he intended to shoot her. He pulled out the gun, pointed at her, pulled the trigger, it did not fire, pulled the trigger again, it did not fire. Ultimately, he says that Mr. Brewton shot her. But the fact, even under his own words, the fact that he didn't kill her, under his words, it's not because he didn't want to kill her, it's simply because his gun didn't fire. He certainly intended to kill her. He also has a note on his phone which indicates what they planned to do and what they needed to do with the girl who was in the trunk. He also turned off his cell phone so he couldn't be tracked by law enforcement, which indicate he has some idea how law enforcement tracks people down. I mean, the offenses in this case are absolutely heinous. The heinousness of the offenses outweighs any mitigation. I would point out that had this occurred 9 months later, he would have been 18. And then we'd be having a very different type of hearing, most likely, because he could very well face a death penalty, because he would have aggravating factors, possible aggravating factors of prior violent felonies, witness elimination, possibly even enhanced premeditation, and those are all serious aggravating factors. So, you know, the only sentence that's appropriate for these crimes is life imprisonment. So, what I'm going to do in count 1, he's being adjudicated guilty of murder in the first degree with a firearm, ordered to serve life imprisonment. He will be entitled to a review after 25 years. He has 825 days credit on all his offenses. His $100 fine and court costs, $100 cost of prosecution. And count 2, he's adjudicated guilty of murder in the first degree with a firearm. And by the way, count 1 was the victim, Michael Hodo Jr. Count 2, the victim is Layla Silvernail. He'll be adjudicated guilty of first degree murder with a firearm or serve life imprisonment with the review after 25 years. And the same credit of 825 days. And count 3, be adjudicated guilty of murder in the first degree with a firearm on the death of Camille Quarles, and he will be ordered to have a review after 25 years. On count 6, adjudicate guilty of robbery with a firearm, be ordered to serve life imprisonment with a 10-year minimum mandatory and review after 20 years.
That's count 4, just for the record. You say count 6 to make sure.
You're correct. I reversed them. For some reason we use Latin numbers, but count 6, I know. Count 4, I should have said. So on count 4, just to be clear, the robbery with a firearm involving Xavier Velasquez, he'll be adjudicated guilty of that offense or serve life imprisonment. It's a 10-year minimum mandatory, 20-year review period. On count 5, adjudicated guilty of robbery with a firearm, life imprisonment, it's a 10-year minimum mandatory, and a 20-year review period. Same credit of 825 on all these offenses. Count 6, adjudicate guilty of tampering with physical evidence. Let me see that score sheet again. 132.3 months in Department of Corrections. 825 days credit. Those sentences are all concurrent with his other cases. Good luck to you, sir. You have 30 days to appeal.
You see Robert Robinson speaking with his attorney, looking out toward his mother, who is in the gallery over there. He has been sentenced now to life in prison, multiple life sentences in connection with the 3 murder counts that he faced of those 3 other teenagers that they are accused of killing. He and 2 others who have been sentenced now. He's the 3rd defendant to be sentenced in this 2023 triple murder. You see friends and family members hugging, wearing their shirts. Those are some friends of Layla. Their shirts say "Justice for Layla." 16-year-old Layla Silvernail, one of the 3 victims who was killed. The others being 17-year-old Michael Hodo Jr. and 16-year-old Camille Quarles. Now this case comes to an end, and the defendants, 2 of them spending life in prison, the 3rd spending at least 40 years. We're going to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back with more coverage in a minute.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday afternoon live on Fox Local and on YouTube. It is 4:25, and that means it's time for today's Top 4 at 4, where we break down 4 of the big stories that we are tracking in the Fox 35 newsroom today. And joining me for today's Top 4 at 4 is Fox 35 News anchor and reporter Marlisa Goldsmith. And Marlisa, we appreciate you joining us.
Absolutely. Happy to be here with you, Garrett.
So we are going to start with the, the hearing that we've been following this afternoon, a case that we've been following for the past couple of days as these 3 defendants sentenced in this 2023 triple murder.
Yes, this is the latest development for a case that we've been following for the past couple of years, Garrett. This was a triple murder that happened back in 2023 in Ocklawaha, that's in Marion County. Now, the sheriff there, Billy Woods, said that 3 boys turned on 3 other teenagers, and a possible motive in this appeared to be a robbery. So Wednesday morning, Circuit Judge Robert Hodges sentenced Tahj Brewton to 3 life terms, 1 for each homicide. Based on their plea agreement, he'll be eligible for review on those life sentences. And then the gentleman we just saw there in that video, Robert Robinson, he was also sentenced to life in prison involved with these crimes as well. Just learning his fate just minutes ago here. And Christopher Atkins, who was 12 at the time of the murders, he took a plea deal. And yesterday we watched him being sentenced to 40 years. There he is right there, just such a young child involved in this. He will be eligible for a sentence review in 25 years, Garrett.
Yeah, and it's we were talking about this yesterday. It's so sad on a lot of levels, because obviously the 3 lives that were taken too soon, and now these 3 also children, teenagers,
right. Yeah.
Who have now ruined their own lives as well. 40 years, you mentioned, for Atkins, who is now 15, just turned 15. And a harsh sentence, some harsh words there for Robinson a little bit ago, because he was the oldest defendant. And so, the other ones were a little bit younger at the time. He was almost 18 years old when this happened. And so they were saying, we heard the judge say if he were 18, I mean, he would likely be facing the death penalty here. So very serious situation, and they are now going to spend decades in prison. At the very least.
Right.
We did hear very briefly from Robinson speaking today in this hearing that just wrapped up a little bit ago. His attorney first read a statement from him, and then he said that.
I'd like to apologize to my mama and my loved ones for the actions I have committed. I'd like to apologize to the victim family for the hurt I brought upon them. I made bad choices. It ain't no excuses for my choices. I'm not gonna make excuses for it or blame anybody but myself. I just want to apologize.
So that was what he had to say after we heard from a number of people speak. His mother took the stand and talked about some issues that behavioral issues and that kind of thing. But again, they ended up going with a life sentence for 2 of those 3 defendants.
Yeah, and yesterday we heard from Atkins, who again was 12 at the time, and I remember him speaking to the judge and making it clear that if you give me another shot, I can change and I can do better. But unfortunately, we have to face the consequences of all of our actions, no matter how old we are, Garrett.
Yeah. Let's go to another sentencing. This one in a high-profile, closely watched national case, and that sentencing happened just a little bit ago as well.
Yeah, so this is Judge Stephen Hippler, who actually ordered Brian Kohberger to serve 4 consecutive life sentences without parole for the brutal stabbing death of 4 University of Idaho students nearly 3 years ago. I know a lot of us remember this just rocked the nation. It was very alarming when you heard the initial reports, the manhunt that ensued afterwards. Kohberger declined to make a statement at the sentencing hearing, and you could hear one person in that room saying surprise, surprise in the courtroom, another person yelling coward. Wednesday's hearing gave the families of the victims a chance to describe what they've felt since they lost their loved ones, since they received the devastating news and they were killed back on that day in November of 2022. Victim impact statements were also read, and people really just got to lay their heart out on the table there as they shared how they felt, and that lasted for about 2 hours in that courtroom, Garrett.
And a range of emotions, that we heard, as you often do in cases like this. And I want to play for you a part of one of the victim's sisters. slamming Koberger in court. And here's what she said.
You didn't win. You just exposed yourself as the coward you are. You're a delusional, pathetic, hypochondriac loser who thought you were so much smarter than everybody else. Constantly scolding, turning your nose up to grammar mistakes, nitpicking and criticizing others. You wanted so badly to be different, to be special, to be better, to be deep, to be mysterious. You found yourself thinking you were better than everyone else, and you thought you could figure out the human psyche and see through it, all while tweaked out on heroin. Lurking in the shadows made you feel powerful because no one ever paid you any attention in the light. You thought you were exceptional, all because of a grade on a paper. You thought you were elite because your online IQ test from 2010 told you so. All of that effort just to seem important. It's desperate. There is a name for your condition, though. Your inflated ego just didn't allow you to see it. Wannabe.
So strong words from her. Just like we said, a lot of emotions, in the courtroom today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Story number 3, and that is we learned details of 8 people being arrested in a multi-state, multi-million-dollar fraud ring.
Yeah, Garrett, we're talking about a whole lot of money here. 8 people are facing charges in that multi-state $8.8 million bank fraud and racketeering scheme. Investigators say the suspects transferred money into accounts that were opened and then either dispersed the money among themselves or made purchases like buying brand new cars. The scheme impacted about 235 people, mostly the elderly, unfortunately, and the suspects have now all been extradited and booked into the Polk County Jail.
It was we heard in that news conference from Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd, from the Attorney General James Uthmeyer talking about this. Grady Judd talking today about the app that they used to communicate in this, and talking about a little bit of a play on words when he talked about how it turned out for these suspects.
Telegram is a platform that is operated out of Dubai. The CEO, Pavel Durov, was arrested in 2024 by France because he was involved in criminal enterprises online. Up until that time, they would not release any subscriber data at all, but a simple arrest by France got them to start to cooperate. But they market online that there's end-to-end encryption, and they call it a secret chat feature. That's why all of this could take place. New York Times calls Telegram the playground of criminals. So you have Telegram and Telecrook, and now we're telling everybody there's Telejail.
So he always has something clever to say about these things. Story number 4, and this is an update in this case out of Jacksonville that we've been talking about. The now viral video of the arrest of this driver, and Ben Crump, the renowned civil rights attorney, announcing that he is filing a lawsuit and wants that officer fired.
Yes. So let me take you back to over the weekend where there was video. This is video right here, cell phone video that started circulating over the weekend. Now, this video that you're looking at was from allegedly from a traffic stop that happened in February of this year, where officers say Will McNeil Jr., who you just saw being dragged out of the car, he was initially stopped because he allegedly needed to have his headlights on due to inclement weather. He repeatedly told those officers there was no inclement weather when they pulled him over, and multiple people didn't have their headlights on, and it was broad daylight. Now, McNeil asked to speak with the supervisor, and you can see that video, that cell phone video he recorded, allegedly shows his window being broken out by officers who were there conducting the traffic stop. He was punched in the face twice and dragged out of his car. Yesterday, the Jacksonville Sheriff, TK Waters, he released body camera video from the vantage point of the officers who were on the scene for that stop. And today, prominent civil rights attorney Garrett, as you just mentioned, Benjamin Crump demanded that the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office immediately fire the officer who you saw punching McNeil twice in the face in that video that has now drawn nationwide attention. Attorney Crump is calling this a, quote, classic case of driving while black, but the state attorney has cleared the officers of all wrongdoing. But I do want to mention that there is an investigation that is still being conducted according to the Jacksonville sheriff.
Yeah, I first want to play a soundbite from the Jacksonville sheriff. He did hold a news conference about this yesterday or the day before, and here's what he said.
The truth is, William McNeil Jr. was non-compliant with JSO officers within 21 seconds after he was stopped for multiple civil infractions. His non-compliance quickly rose to the level of criminal resistance to a police officer. McNeil was arrested and pled guilty to resisting a police officer without violence. Force absolutely looks ugly. And because all force is ugly, whether or not the officer involved acted within outside JSO policy, that's still what we're investigating. The state attorney's office once again has reviewed the case materials and determined that Officer Bauer's actions are not criminal. Now JSO will conduct a thorough investigation to determine whether Officer Bowers acted appropriately with respect to JSO policy. When an officer does wrong, and I think every one of you know this and everyone that's listening, I will stand up here and tell you straight. And likewise, when officers justifiably use force, I'll stand up here also and I'll tell you straight. I ask the public for its patience as the administrative process is completely, competently completed. Once we've determined whether Officer Bowers acted within policy or not, I will immediately share that determination with the public.
When William was stopped, there was no rhyme or reason, no rationale for them stopping him. I mean, this was a classic case of driving while black. And I applaud William McNeil for keeping his demeanor, his calmness.
That day, I just really wanted to know, why I was getting pulled over and why I needed to step out the car when I know I didn't do nothing wrong. I was really just scared. And that's it.
So with those calls for action and with that lawsuit that's going to be filed, certainly not the last we will have heard of this.
Yeah, certainly not.
Well, that is going to do it for our Top 4 at 4. Marlisa, we appreciate you joining us. We're going to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus, and we'll be right back after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Noah Berggren joins me now. And Noah, we've been watching those storms that have been pretty strong at times this afternoon.
Yeah, that's right, Garrett. We've got a lot of strong storms out there. In fact, that's why we've made today that weather impact day. Lots to talk about, so we'll get right into it now over the next couple of minutes. So today's still that weather impact day. We are watching some strong and severe storms out there. And yeah, Garrett, we've got those tropical downpours, lightning, gusty winds, and localized flooding, and possibly even a brief tornado, all possible as we go through the remainder of the evening. Now, the storms that are out there tonight will cross the state and may actually become a tropical depression or a storm once we get to the Gulf later this week. But that would be no concern to us at all over the next, let's say, several days. So out there tonight, we're tracking a lot of storms, and they're moving from south to north. And south to north, some of them south of the city, and then the ones west of the city are moving east to west. So you see from Gainesville to Ocala, the Villages, down to about Clearmont, storms are moving east to west. Then south of Orlando, we're moving south to north. And it's that one storm south of Orlando that I'm watching for maybe some severe potential here over the next couple of minutes. Taking a little radar tour, here's the storms by Gainesville over towards Palatka and Pearson, over towards Ocala as well. Further to the south, we're watching what was a flood advisory. You see there that green polygon for the Clearmont area towards Mount Verde, going towards Zellwood, big thunderstorms out towards Coleman and Wildwood, keeping an eye on those here over the next couple of minutes. Further to the south, we're watching this storm in the Kissimmee area. Now, there is some rotation with this thunderstorm that is in between Kissimmee and Campbell. Now, that's why I'm turning my head down. I don't mean to turn away from y'all. I'm just monitoring, make sure I don't miss anything. So right where you see the second M in Kissimmee, see there's a little notch sticking out above the radar there. This is going northwest towards Williamsburg. The Weather Service has put out their monitoring an area of brief rotation. It's not issued a tornado warning yet, but it could be in the next couple of minutes. So I'm watching that close for you here, just in case something does get issued. But let me backtrack and give you a more focused view of the entire area. So right now, let me start you with the wide view again. Notice from Palm Coast to Melbourne, there's nothing and there won't be anything for the rest of the night. So if you're on the immediate Atlantic beaches, it's dry. These storms around Ocala, bigger storms by Palatka, will come by in the next 90 minutes. Nothing in Winter Park to Lake Mary to Longwood, Heathrow, over towards Ocoee, but there's storms coming in from the south. We'll keep an eye on that. And those storms are coming in from the south. And we are watching those storms coming in from the south right now from Kissimmee towards Williamsburg. Sorry, Garrett, I've just got a lot. Had a phone call coming in, had to push that. All right, so further to the east of Brevard County, you notice there's not much going on right now. But over in Tampa, there's a lot of big thunderstorms. You see those from Largo to Pinellas over towards Dade City. Lutz, we're keeping an eye on that. So through the night, we'll watch some storms for about the next, let's say, 2 to 3 hours. I think through 9. Anywhere outside of the Atlantic beaches, we'll have a lot of downpours and storms, maybe 1 or 2 severe. Temperatures tomorrow, we're back into the low 90s, but the rain chances are going to come down over the next several days. In fact, today it was about 70 to 80. Tomorrow it's 60. But Garrett, as we go into Saturday and Sunday, man, does it get hot, and man, do the rain chances come down. And in fact, I think this weekend, Garrett, may be hotter than it was last weekend, the way it looks right now, actually.
Oh, that's certainly saying something, because we know how hot it was this past weekend. I do have a quick question for you, Noah, and that's
yes.
that storm with the rotation that you're watching, down near Kissimmee and Osceola County area. Is that where you were? I know you were talking earlier about those big collisions of the different kind of sea breeze. Is that the impact of what we're seeing happening there?
Exactly right, Garrett. Yes. In Florida, because think about it, there's no hurricane nearby. There's no tropical storm nearby. So in the summer in Florida, at our latitude of Earth, the winds in the jet stream are very weak. The jet stream is further north. In the summer, you get severe weather in the northern U.S. because that's where the jet stream is. You need those fast winds aloft to create tornado outbreaks. That's why if you think about it, Florida gets its tornadoes that are not from hurricanes in the fall and winter and early spring. See the Lake Mary tornado earlier this year. So in summer, you need to the only way that it can really happen is you have a storm like this and a storm like this that track towards each other, or two boundaries that track towards each other, and they hit each other, and that's what creates spin and create a brief tornado. It happens routinely in Florida in the summer a handful of times each year, but that's really the only way to get a tornado in Florida in the summer because the winds up aloft are so weak that to create that low-level spin, you need two storms to just run into each other, and essentially they spin for a few minutes, and then that spinning goes away.
All right, something to watch there. Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Noah Bergen, we appreciate you joining us.
Thank you, sir.
We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I am Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining me live on Fox Local and on YouTube. I want to let you know that the soccer coverage going on right now on Fox 35, as it has quite a bit over the past few weeks. This is the Euro semifinals in the women's Euro tournament there, and we are in some stoppage time right now on the third minute of 4. And it's tied. So you know what that means. That means we will likely be going to extra time, which would be 2 15-minute halves. So that means we'll have quite a bit more time with you here on Fox 35 News Plus. Just wanted to let you know that that's likely the path we will be heading down if no one scores in the next minute or so on Fox 35. But we appreciate you joining us here on Fox Local and on YouTube. We had the chance today, Fox 35's Marie Ettinger sat down with the new Osceola County Sheriff. He is the interim sheriff appointed to that position by Governor Ron DeSantis following the suspension of the previous Osceola Sheriff, Marcos Lopez. He has now been charged and facing a number of charges in connection with an accused illegal gambling ring out of Osceola and Lake counties as well. We followed this extensively. He and several other defendants facing charges in this case. Fox 35's Marie Ettinger had the chance to speak with Christopher Blackman, who has stepped in to the sheriff's office in that the role of interim sheriff to talk about how he is making changes and what he wants people in the community to know. Here's a small portion of that conversation.
First going in, I'm gonna call it a Shark Tank because I had no idea what I was getting into. I had an idea based on what FDLE had briefed me on coming into it. So I walked into the sheriff's office. It was really, that was the most stressful day of my life going in, because I had no idea who was friend, who was foe. And you would think wearing this uniform with this badge that you would have friends. But I can also tell you, even today, I'm sure there's people there that don't want me there. But the vast majority of them do. And they've come to me and shared that with me. And I've also went to their offices and sat down and talked to them and said, hey, tell me about you. Tell me what you do here. What's your position? I said, okay, you're in finance. What is your role in finance? And then I look around their cubicles and their offices, and I see stuff, and I engage conversation about that stuff so I can make it personal, because I believe everybody at the sheriff's office, from me all the way down to our janitor, is just as important, because it's a big cog in the wheel, and everybody plays a key part. Nobody's more important than the other person.
You know, I was actually just thinking, you said cog in the wheel, I was just thinking that same thing, is that, I mean, you're a director of an agency, but it's every single part of it that matters.
Yes.
Has there been anything different from what you expected about how things operate, or how you'd like them to operate?
No, because we've got a tremendous amount of great people that work there. We've got the sworn staff, which is your deputies you see every day. We have investigators and others that do different job functions at the sheriff's office. But we have our civilian staff, and I've said my entire career, the civilians are the glue that holds that place together, because we could not run the sheriff's office without our civilian staff. We've got our communications center, our dispatchers and call takers. That's the ones that are greeted before most cops ever have any interaction with a call for service. They take the call on the phone. So their job is extremely stressful, because sometimes they're given orders and directions over the phone for CPR to save a child's life or a person's life.
One of the changes you've already made is to be more diligent about being front-facing.
Yes.
What are some of the other changes? And I know it's early on, but what are some of the other changes that you'd like to see happen?
Internally with the staff, I've made a lot of staff changes, because I had no idea coming in how far this corruption may go down the chain. And what I mean by that is the structure of the sheriff's office. You have a sheriff, they had a chief deputy, we renamed it under sheriff. Then we had 3 majors, and they had a civilian paid equal to a major. So what I did is I come in and we fired the civilian, which is the executive director, I believe was her title, and I replaced that with a uniform position, which is a major. So we have 4 majors now, and we streamlined our chain of command. So that actually, when you look at our chain, if you're in law enforcement, if you saw it before, you'd be confused about, it almost looked like a bingo board. Stuff was just everywhere, and it made no sense. So we've sat down and had extensive meetings on streamlining our agency to where it's supposed to be. If you're in CID, Criminal Investigations Division, you've got that component. You don't have some wild card agency like Ag Marine stuck under you. That should be in our special operations category. So we've merged everything to where it's supposed to be and run like a real law enforcement agency. Because before, I don't think the leadership was correct in the way they did stuff. Quite obviously, decisions that the former sheriff made put him in handcuffs. He's got a tough road ahead of him, but he chose his path that he took. So we're going to come in after that. We're going to fix this mess that was left. But we've got a lot of good men and women that work there that are helping us get things going. The reception for me has been way above and beyond what I ever thought. It's been very welcoming. I mean, even last night we were leaving the office, Kim and I were leaving, going to another channel for an interview, and a deputy stopped me and said, "Sir, can I speak to you?" And I'm like, "Absolutely. Why could you not?" And he said, "Well, before I couldn't." And I said, "What's the deal?" And he said, "I just want to say thank you." I said, "For what?" He said, "For what you've done here. You flipped this place upside down in 6 weeks. I've never seen anything like it." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "We can go do our job. We don't have to have influence of telling us, hey, don't do traffic stops. Just go work." And if you think about that in context with casinos being in Osceola County, potentially you don't want your deputies stopping your future clients that are coming in to spend their money, right? So basically we're circumventing law enforcement to let a criminal empire run in the county.
I think the public had understandable concerns that the corruption, as you said, that's your word, at the sheriff's office might run outside of just the sheriff himself, or that he might have put in other influences or had his hands in other things internally that the public would not want, such as deputies not being able to do their jobs. How do you go about checking every single thing step by step to make sure that things are functioning properly and that people know they're able to do their jobs? Like, how do you take on that task?
My message was to go out and meet the deputies and meet the staff and tell them, I expect you to do your job. Why did you become a law enforcement officer? Was it enforce the law or ride around and just answer calls? And I told them, I want you to go be proactive, and that means do traffic stops. And I don't care if you write them a ticket or a warning or you give them a verbal warning. But we need to, sometimes we got to change people's driving behaviors. I'm sure you've witnessed that coming to work. We see it all over Central Florida, right? We have some people that don't know how to appreciate the vehicles and drive crazy. So my message is to get out to our staff and talk to them and let them know my vision is go be a cop, go be a deputy, do your job, be responsible to the community, and just take care of yourself and your family, because their family is super important to their success at work. And I'm telling you, it's been well received. It's been a phenomenal feeling to me to come in and people just continually tell you how much they appreciate you being there. And that's civilian and sworn.
What happens if people are resistant to the changes you want to make?
Well, they may not want to work there anymore. Some of the staff are at will, and we've made some changes there. I don't want to discuss what they were, but I talked to a couple of them, and they retired. We've got some others that have left. Some we've terminated. There's some investigations currently going on internally with us that we're looking at for some ethical behavior with Sheriff's Office employees, and we're going to get to the bottom of that. And if there's criminal charges, we'll make them. If it's administrative and we think it's ethical issues that are going to tarnish our badge, they're going to be relieved of duty and terminated.
And so that was Christopher Blackman, the Osceola County Sheriff, as the previous sheriff is currently suspended. So you'll be able to hear more of Marie's conversation coming up on Fox 35 News and on fox35orlando.com as well. We are getting ready to take a break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but as predicted, we are in extra time for soccer for the Women's Euro semifinal between, it looks like, Germany and Spain, to find out who plays England, I believe it is, who won yesterday. So we are going to have some extra time with you here on Fox 35 News Plus. So we're going to take a break. We'll come back at 5 o'clock and have more news and weather and see how long soccer continues on Fox 35. So again, as we get ready to head to break here, I'm going to give you this live look at the Fox 35 Storm Tracker radar this evening. You can see some of those storms firing up. But we'll be back in just a couple of minutes, so keep it here on Fox Local and on YouTube, and we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, good evening to you, and welcome into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining us live on Fox Local and on YouTube. It is 5 o'clock, and yet again, as soccer goes into extra time on Fox 35, that means we've got Fox 35 News Plus overtime for you here, and we appreciate you joining us. I want to let you know that we do stream throughout the day on Fox Local every weekday. We have shows at 11 a.m., 2 p.m., and at 4 p.m., and a lot of other times as well as news breaks and as news warrants. So we appreciate you joining us. We have an interesting story to start with here tonight. And Fox 35's Kelsey Cairns has the story, joins us live now via Zoom. Kelsey, the story of a man arrested after an alligator was killed. What's the situation here?
Yeah, so we learned this actually happened out of Lake County. It happened about 2 weeks ago. There was a man who's accused of capturing and killing a gator, and that's not even the worst of it. The arrest report from Florida Fish and Wildlife details this man allegedly beat the gator to death with a golf club. I spoke with witnesses in the area of the neighborhood where this happened, and they're still in shock over this. Take a listen.
That comes from a real twisted individual.
A disturbing scene in this Lake County neighborhood.
Oh, there's the other part. There's multiple parts under there.
When investigators arrived on scene, they found an alligator's body, mutilated and dumped in someone's backyard on Bay Avenue in Montverde.
Oh, they skinned it.
This is that gator, or what was left of it. An arrest report from Florida Fish and Wildlife says Crumbo beat and killed the gator on July 12th.
He said he beat it to death. He beat him to get his fishing lure out of his mouth.
Witness Karen Jackson is still shaken up.
All I could see was his head and his tail, and the middle was bloody. You know, I didn't get too close to him. Yeah. So then that's when the sheriff and the game ward came.
FWC and the Vice were out with parts of the gator.
She says the gator came from this canal attached to Lake Apopka.
They just let the thing sit back there and rot. And I just don't agree with that.
According to Lake County court records, this is not Crumbo's first run-in with the law. He's been arrested 7 times in the last 5 years. For this case, one of the charges he's facing is killing or injuring a gator without the authority to do so. An arrest report says Crumbo admitted to capturing and beating the gator to death with a golf club.
I have never heard of anybody do that to an alligator. As long as I'm 62 years old, I never seen nobody beat alligator like that.
One more piece of information from Florida Fish and Wildlife. They say if you have a nuisance gator in your area, in your neighborhood, always best idea to give them a call. Never try to take matters into your own hands, because we're talking death, we're talking injury, and even possible arrest. Those are all the possible consequences as a result. Reporting in Lake County tonight, Kelsey Cairns, Fox 35 News. Garrett will send it back to you.
All right, Kelsey, it sounded like, you talked to those neighbors. It sounded like they were disturbed by it.
Yeah, for sure. And that one woman, she told me, I asked her, did you have any photos? Because as reporters, we're always looking for those visuals to visually tell our stories over the airwaves. And she said she was so much in shock over the blood and how it looked that she didn't even take any photos on her phone. She goes, yeah, I'll leave that up to FWC to do that for me. So yeah, certainly a gruesome scene for those neighbors. And the person who is accused of doing this is now behind bars on no bond.
All right, Fox 35's Kelsey Cairns, we appreciate you joining us this evening here on Fox 35 News Plus. We are also learning more about steps being taken to try to address some issues with I-4 in Volusia County. Let me give you a live look right now at I-4. This is in Lake Mary here in Seminole County, right outside the Fox 35 studios. You can see traffic heading eastbound, moving pretty slow there, but moving better than it was earlier when the rain was coming down. We had some strong waves of showers and storms coming through here a little bit ago, and really slowing down traffic at that point. This is just some regular rush hour traffic at this point. It is after 5 o'clock now. But Fox 35's Chris Lindsay has more, speaking to officials in Deltona about what they are looking at to address issues on the interstate.
The city of Deltona has the largest population in the county, so when there's traffic issues on I-4, people who live here really feel it. That's why the mayor is asking the decision makers to pick up the pace on this project. Interstate 4 isn't the favorite highway of many Central Floridians.
I think I-4 is one of the worst roads in the United States.
However, the Florida Department of Transportation is working to change that.
The road is in disrepair. A lot of it's in, really bad disrepair.
With an ongoing project called I-4 Beyond the Ultimate, it's a multi-stage plan to expand the interstate and improve traffic flow.
There's a mess in traffic. And the expansion of this Beyond I-4
ultimate project, it's going to help reduce the traffic in that aspect, alleviate some of that pain.
Drivers are seeing a lot of work in Orange, Osceola, and Polk counties right now, like express lanes, new overpasses, even more lanes. But drivers and leaders in North Central Florida want to see some more work done in Volusia and Seminole counties.
Deltona happens to be the second largest Central Florida. We're in Volusia County. We just need that attention to be a little bit focused on us every once in a while.
Which is why the Deltona City Commission voted this week to send a letter to the state asking them to fast-track plans to upgrade I-4 in their area. Deltona Mayor Santiago Avila tells us the work he wants to see is construction of overpasses and repaving of roads.
What aspect are you most looking forward to?
The expansion of the roads, number one.
He says based on what he's heard from his constituents, it can't come fast enough. He's asking FDOT to expedite the process so traffic can flow more smoothly, allowing people to get where they need to safely and timely. Reporting in Volusia County, Chris Lindsay, Fox 35 News.
Give you a look right now at the Fox 35 Storm Tracker radar. You can see those storms, some of them strong. In our area, we talked about it with Noah a few minutes ago. You can see it also counting lightning strikes. We are seeing some lightning out there this afternoon. It's something we've seen a lot of issues with lately. A lot of lightning with a lot of these storms here in Florida, and has caused some issues. We've heard of a number of reports of people being struck by lightning. So what are you supposed to do in those situations? We want to bring in Fox 35's Randy Hildreth, because Randy, I know this is something, this was a question that you thought of and you were wondering as well.
Yeah, I was out yesterday on a story with my cameraman, my photographer, and as the storm was rolling in, we were in an area near a grassy field. And as we looked at the sky, we thought, we need to hurry up and go get in the car, because when you hear thunder, they say when thunder roars, go indoors or get to a safe place, because there's always concern about lightning. We know Florida, lightning capital. And when I was looking up some research on the CDC's website, they said lightning can occur any time of the year, but the most lightning deaths occur during the summer, especially July. And we are in July and we live in Florida. And so I started to talk with him about, heaven forbid anything happen, what are you supposed to do in that situation? If you have someone who is near you who's been struck by lightning, what are you supposed to do to increase their chances of surviving a lightning strike? And I took my question to medical leaders at Orlando Health, and also a paramedic with Seminole County Fire Department, and got some answers.
If you live in Florida, your ears are trained for the sound of lightning. Tuesday alone, roughly 31,000 lightning bolts were recorded across Florida. And we know they don't only flash across the sky. Sometimes they hurt people.
It's unique because you got millions of volts hitting you in 100th, 1,000th of a second. So this is on the order of 25 million volts.
Dr. Jay Ladd is an emergency medicine physician at Orlando Health ORMC. He says lightning strikes can cause superficial burns, blow out your eardrums, and are so powerful it can pick you up and toss you, causing injuries. Or worse.
You can go into full cardiopulmonary arrest. It can make your heart stop. That's probably the most common arrhythmia.
Paramedics say if you're near someone who is struck by lightning, see if you can get them to a safe spot and call 911, and be ready to answer questions from dispatch.
First thing we need to be ready to answer is, are they breathing? Two ways we can check to see if they're breathing. One, we can put our hand on their chest and feel for the chest to rise and fall. Second, we can look to see if the chest is rising and falling. If they're not breathing, then our dispatch is going to prompt the start of CPR.
Tanner Barley's first call as a paramedic was a lightning strike incident. He says the chest compressions help get the person's blood pumping in their body again before medics arrive. He says you want to first intertwine your hands.
So lock your fingers together.
And it doesn't matter which one.
Nope, doesn't matter. Take your heel of your hand and place it in the center of the chest.
He says you want to aim for 100 to 120 chest compressions per minute, and use an AED machine on the victim as well if one is available.
And something that was really interesting when I was talking with Dr. Ladd with Orlando Health, he was saying, we have information about how many lightning bolts or strikes that we are seeing across Florida alone. As I mentioned in the story, we saw roughly 31,000 lightning bolts just on Tuesday across Florida. And he was saying, when you look at, how frequent we are experiencing lightning strikes and the number of people who report injuries, I think in our interview, he mentioned maybe like 300. He had heard reports of maybe like 300 a year. And I have to clarify with him if that was in Florida or what kind of context for that number, but he was saying the numbers don't match. And so he believes that with the amount of lightning strikes that we're seeing, not everyone is coming to the hospital if they are experiencing a lightning strike. He was saying, some people may be struck by lightning, come to and think that they are fine and don't go to the emergency room. But he was saying, if you are with someone, they're struck by lightning, they're breathing, they get up, they seem to be coherent, still take them to the hospital because later on they can develop heart issues. So I just really thought that was interesting. I never thought that anyone who thought they were struck by lightning would not go to the emergency room to be checked out. But he said, please emphasize that to viewers.
Yeah, that is really interesting. But this is something that, I think the numbers are just fascinating to hear, because we know this is a widespread thing. It seems like it's something that we hear about a lot. And just, the way we see these storms in Florida, certainly something that you have to think about.
Yeah, rolling so quickly. Yeah. And so to go back to my phrase that I said at the beginning of the story, when thunder roars, go indoors, because you don't want to put yourself in a situation with a lightning strike if you can help it.
All right, Fox 35's Randy Hildreth, we appreciate you joining us this afternoon.
Thank you.
We are also continuing to follow up on this situation out of Marion County, where over the past couple of days we've had 3 defendants sentenced to long prison sentences in connection with the triple murder from 2023. Fox 35's Marie Ettinger has been inside the courtroom for all of these hearings, and Marie, now this chapter for these family members of the victims comes to a close. All 3 of these suspects have now been sentenced and are spending a long time behind bars.
Yes, today there were 2 teenagers who got their sentences handed down. Both of them will spend the rest of their lives behind bars. The afternoon one that just got out, that was Robert Robinson. He is accused of shooting and killing a woman named Layla Silvernail. He also is accused of shooting a person who was in the back seat of this car, the trunk of this car at the time. Her name was Camille Coral. He pleaded no contest to that. That's why I'm saying accused, but he has now, the judge says he's found him guilty of those. And he will face life. He's facing life in prison. He's able to have an appeal of that in 25 years, or excuse me, he can appeal in 30 days to argue with it, and he'll get to argue the sentence again in 25 years. Earlier in the morning, there was another sentencing that was for a man named Tahj Brewton. He was 16 at the time that these crimes were committed. He is accused of shooting and killing a man named Michael Hodo. Yesterday, there was a 12-year-old who was sentenced to 40 years behind bars. The people involved in this said that he was the least amount culpable. That's why he didn't wind up with life, and due to his age being younger. Now, when all of this was happening, there were a ton of people in the courtroom who just were periodically erupting in tears. There were a lot of friends of the victims who went up to speak. A lot of them, again, speaking through tears. The judge said today that these crimes were heinous. He said he just has not seen something like this. Yesterday, he said he had never seen a 12-year-old accused of murdering somebody. And today, a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old sentenced to life for killing other 16 and 17-year-olds. Again, he said this is heinous, and he just said that he doesn't know what other sentence these 2 people today could have got besides. I did also talk with the state attorney for this area, Bill Gladstone. He says that, yes, it is difficult to go after teenagers, but at the same time, you have to consider the impact that these crimes have had. And a couple of them, especially Robert Robinson, who was sentenced this afternoon, he's 17 years old. He was 9 months away from being 18. If he had been 18 at the time of these crimes, he could have faced the death penalty. So that's what we're dealing with here. I'm not sure, Garrett, whether you have the story I was able to put together earlier today.
Yes, we've got it.
Okay, so in this, you'll see some of what I've just talked about, and you'll see some of the shock of the new details that we learned in this case just this afternoon.
As painful as it is to say, I hope, may God forgive me, that the boys who did this are haunted every day by what they've done.
An emotional day in the courtroom, and gasps when new details came out about cell records showing the murders may have been premeditated.
If we bang Sosa and Layla, you have to shoot the in the trunk.
Brewton was going to knock off Michael Hodo.
Okay. Did he explain to you what he thought that meant?
I believe he explained that to the other deputy or to the other detectives, but basically he said to kill him.
Court documents had revealed before the kids in this case were all riding around committing armed robberies, but up until now we didn't know what led up to the shootings.
The why was because of wanting a firearm that Mr. Hodo had.
A family member of one of the victims explained Michael Hodo was dating Layla Silvernail. They were friends with Camille Quarles. Hodo had previously had some beef with the defendants in this case, Christopher Atkins, Tahj Brewton, and Robert Robinson.
I asked him why he was friends with them again. His reply, "You don't understand. These Walhall boys don't play. This is the only way I stay safe, is to be friends again."
Investigators say the 3 suspects and 3 victims were hanging out. These are all 16 and 17-year-olds we're talking about, except for one 12-year-old, Chris Atkins. Brewton shot and killed Hodo, Robinson shot and killed Silvernail. Then Atkins says Robinson threatened to kill him if he didn't shoot Quarles. She survived, so Robinson shot her a second time.
I have watched my son reflect on his actions with shame, regret, and heartbreak.
Robinson and Brewton both pleaded no contest. The judge says they'll spend the rest of their lives behind bars.
I'm not going to make excuses for it or blame anybody but myself. I just want to apologize.
Atkins pleaded guilty to murder and was sentenced to 40 years in prison, the mandatory minimum.
I think that is the best justice that we could have hoped for.
Robinson and Brewton had both been accused and in a couple of cases convicted of crimes in the past that got brought up in court today. For instance, the murder weapon that Robinson used is something that he was accused of having stolen the week prior in an armed robbery. And he actually was already incarcerated. He was behind bars for that crime when they went to talk with him about these murders. Again, they will be able to have this sentence reviewed in 25 years, and they do have 30 days if they'd like to attempt to appeal it.
And Marie, a packed courtroom. It seemed like lots of friends and family members of the victims there showing their support, wearing matching T-shirts.
Yeah, a lot of people absolutely packed. Yesterday was standing room only. Today there were people kind of cycling through, and it was just, as I mentioned, I mean, waves of emotion going through, and that kind of varied. So yesterday, for instance, when 12-year-old Christopher Atkins, he's now 15, I'll say, he was 12 at the time of this murder, he got his 40-year sentence, and there was a lot of anger for some of the families, particularly Michael Hodo's parents, were livid at that. They wanted him to get life behind bars too. They went up to the stand and talked to the judge both yesterday and today and said that they actually wanted the death penalty for these kids, and that if life behind bars was the biggest sentence they were going to get, that's what they wanted. I will mention there were other family members who said that they were very happy with how things played out in court, that each of the sentences that each defendant received was appropriate, they felt. So there was some anger. There were a lot of people just getting progressively more stressed as today went on, as they're waiting for those sentences. It really was a ride. The only thing I can say is no one was happy today. No one seemed overjoyed at the results. It was just this relief. I was in an elevator with a woman who's friends with Layla Silvernail, who just broke into tears on the way down and said she'd been waiting 2 years for this verdict.
Gosh, tough for everyone. A lot of emotion, a lot of weight to that. Fox 35's Marie Ettinger. We appreciate you joining us.
Of course.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more Fox 35 News Plus after this.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Noah Berggren joins me now. And Noah, if we've been keeping an eye, I know you've been keeping a close eye on these rounds of storms and strong in a lot of places as well.
Yeah, and in fact, Garrett, if you remember earlier, we were talking about when I was with you at about 4:40 that there was some rotation. In fact, the brief funnel cloud being reported from earlier now in the Kissimmee area when I was on talking to you. Thankfully, no tornado actually touched down or was reported, but there was some decent rotation earlier. But I want to take you over to the radar now and show you what's cooking at this hour, about 5:24 p.m. So a couple of things. First, what we've got is a line of storms coming north from the Kissimmee area. Here's the loop of the radar over the past 45 minutes, and we're tracking this line of storms right here. Let me make this marker bigger. There's a line of storms coming into downtown. This is with the rain-cooled outflow from these storms surging northward right here. So this line of storms here is tracking towards Lake Mary, Deltona, Altamont Springs. You can see that boundary there that I've drawn with that line is pushing north. So these storms over by the villages are moving this way. Then the storms coming out of Kissimmee and St. Cloud are moving, oddly enough, to the north. So I'm going to bring you a zoom in here. A little downpour coming into Oak Ridge and Pine Castle. A decent downpour blowing up here over Orange Avenue and Princeton Street, going up towards Fairview. Back to the south, a decent downpour over MCO right now. We are tracking that over towards Lake Nona. Some lightning and thunder and gusty winds over here on the east side of Bithlo towards Christmas and almost to the UCF area. Coming back to the south, you see here we do have a flood advisory actually for the Kissimmee area. It's raining pretty hard in Celebration, but a flood advisory for Osceola County until 6:45. And that flood advisory is because we've had some really solid rain. This is over the past 3 hours. Let me zoom in and look here off of Clay Street in Kissimmee. Just in 3 hours, we've had 2.5 inches of rain, 2.7 there over by Point Siena Boulevard, 2.6 in the center of Kissimmee, 1.8. So in these areas, a flood advisory means that there could be some pockets of low-lying or street flooding. So heads up for that if you're driving around Kissimmee in the next hour or two. That should recede and go away shortly thereafter. But you can see the rain is letting up there. But I want to bring you to this thunderstorm here as it's blowing up rapidly over Orlando and Fairview right here. Look at those purples. That's indicative of this storm growing. And this storm could be producing some hail now over Concord Street, Highland Avenue. Put on the velocity data here. All right, so one thing I'm tracking, Garrett, I'm going to switch this to the Orlando radar. So if you look right here, see where it says OIA? There's a Doppler radar that's lower power, but we use it, or the FAA and the Airport Authority uses it for MCO. Our radar is out by Bithlo, and then we've got the Weather Service radar, which you see here sweeping down by Brevard County. But by the time this radar sees this storm, it's 10,000 feet up from the MCO radar, which is right there. It's going to reload now in a second. We're scanning this pretty low to the ground. And I want you to look at the velocity data because you can see on the leading edge of this line of storms is a very gusty area. We zoom into Maitland. This is the wind these pixels you're looking at. 39 miles an hour, 47, 39, 35. So while there's no warning on this yet, this is a surge of rain-cooled air that's working its way north. And often people get spooked or scared by this because there's no warning and it comes by their house without any warning. So that black line indicates a surge of 40, 45 mile an hour winds that's moving north towards Apopka, towards Lake Mary in a few minutes, towards Sanford. And as that boundary lifts north and storms form along it, that's how you can get funnel clouds and possibly a brief tornado, which you look, so you see there's a storm popping up right along that boundary right here. And as this boundary moves north, there should be more storms that form as well. So we'll keep an eye on that for the next little while. I'm not seeing anything imminent right now, but let me pull up one of our cameras now and show you the camera from, let's see, let's do the SunTrust camera. I want you to see what it looks like from down there. Decent downpour. You see the camera shaking. Now that gusty wind is well to the north of that. But that's something we're going to keep an eye on, Garrett, is this line of storms, this area right here over the next, let's say, 45 minutes from Orlando to Winter Park to Sanford. As this line of storms moves north and grows into this area, downpours, some lightning, and there's a small chance that one or two of those storms could produce a funnel cloud or two through about 6:30. So that's what I'll be keeping an eye on here for the next little while.
Is it, you say till 6:30? Are things kind of in the clear after that, or is that just the strong stuff? We could still see some more rounds after that.
Yeah, the strong stuff and the chance of funnel cloud or a brief tornado through 6:30. I'd say after 6:30, like it'll be like the stuff down here now by MCO. If you see over here by Lake Buena Vista, just rain and thunder, nothing too intense. So for the next hour or so is the chance for strong and severe stuff. We'll keep an eye out for.
All right, Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Noah Berggren, we appreciate you joining us.
Thank you, sir.
And we are going to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus. As we do so, I leave you with this view from International Drive in the tourist district. You can see some of those dark clouds there as well, and those clouds moving. We're going to take a break, but we will be right back with more next right here on Fox Local.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus, and check out this shot right now from one of our cameras in downtown Orlando. You can see that wall of rain, that stark dividing line of where the showers are and where they aren't right now, and it is moving. You see raindrops moving closer. We were just checking in with Fox 35 Storm Team meteorologist Noah Berggren, who was telling us what we have to kind of watch out for the next little bit. And there goes our shot. It is on the move right now, but you can really see those clouds, and I'm going to move it off that before I get dizzy. So that's the situation right now with the weather, and we do know that this coming weekend, the heat is going to come back. We talked about that a little bit earlier as well, potentially even hotter and more humid than last weekend, which was the hottest weekend of the year so far. We are heading into deep now into summertime here in Central Florida, and officials in Orange County held a demonstration today to remind people of the dangers of hot cars, because leaving children or pets in unattended cars not only is dangerous, but it's also illegal. And so Orange County Animal Services, Orange County Fire Rescue, they talked today about how they've already responded to a number of emergency calls this year. It's something they never want to have to respond to, but it does happen. And here's why it's so serious, because temperatures, officials say, can rise inside a locked car in by 20 degrees in just 10 minutes. And if you look about an hour, can rise 40 to 50 degrees. No wonder when you hear that, no wonder it can be deadly. I want to show you a demonstration that just shows how serious this is. This is from earlier today in Orange County, as officials showed not just this dangerous situation inside unattended cars if you leave pets or children inside them, but also how to break open a window if you need to.
And obviously it's summertime, it's hot. We want to make sure everybody's aware of what to do should they find a dog in a car, but also talk about what you should do with your own dog and not put it in a car. But just as a training example, at 8:05 this morning, we locked a stuffed dog, we call Stuffy, inside this car. I took a temperature reading on the dashboard this morning of 105. It's 80 degrees outside today and overcast. So we're gonna actually check the temperature right now in the car. So it's only been roughly a little less than an hour, or about an hour so far. And we're just gonna see how warm it actually is. And we're already up to 121 degrees. So that is way too hot for a dog. And this is just overcast and cloudy. Think about how hot it would be if it was about 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, full sun, this car's been sitting. It could get up to 150, 160. I've seen 180 on dashboards before too. Way too hot for a human, dog, or anything to be in a car. Should somebody come up upon a car and see a dog in it and are concerned about it, first things you want to make sure are, does the dog look like it's in distress? Is it panting a lot? Is it not panting? Dogs are supposed to be panting. That is normal for them to do. If it's not, it's just sitting there, that is important, and time is of the essence. You want to get that dog out of the car. Of course, we'd like to get the owner to take their dog out of the car, call 911, call animal control, whatever you can do. But sometimes you just got to get in the car and get the dog out. So before we go and break windows, we always like to tell people, check the doors first. Make sure there's not a door that just unlocked, and we'll check. Thankfully, right now, there's a door unlocked. We can get in the car. If that wasn't the case, though, what we would have to do is break the window. We're not going to break this truck because it's very nice. We do have a window over here that we're going to show people how they can do it. There's a couple different tools you can use. If you don't have these special tools, that's okay. There's also a very basic thing I'm going to try as well if the first thing doesn't work, so that you guys can actually see the demonstration of how to break a window safely. One of the biggest, most important things to do, though, if you have to break a window, if the dog is in this front seat, say he's chilling out in the driver's seat, don't break the driver's seat window because the dog's sitting right there. Go to the opposite side, the rear passenger side, or vice versa, wherever the dog is, go to the opposite side and behind it, so that you're not putting the dog into more danger by breaking a window right on the dog. So I'm going to put this down. There's a couple simple tools. You can buy these at Walmart. They're a couple dollars. They're basically a window punch. They kind of work in the same way an EpiPen does. If you press it against something, there's a little spring release in it, and it basically hits the window right at a certain point, and theoretically should shatter the window. If you have a screwdriver, a well-placed key, if you have a knife in your pocket and you use the blunt end of it, something like that, you don't ever want to just hit the window. Most likely it's going to just bounce off. You want to go to a corner of a window, which is what we're going to do over there. We're going to go by that rear view mirror and attempt to shatter the window just right there. So John and I...
Real quick.
Yes, sir.
Can you hold just those up just the way you had it earlier? Just one at a time. Just this one.
So this is just a cheap window punch you can get at Walmart. It actually also comes with a seatbelt cutter right on it. You can hook it onto your keychain, put it in a map pocket in your truck, have it with you whenever you need, and they're relatively inexpensive.
All right, and the other one, talk about that one for a second.
Just a screwdriver. Nothing fancy about it. So.
Hey Rick, wouldn't people get in trouble for breaking a window?
No, they would not. So Florida has a Good Samaritan law in regards to if you reasonably think an animal or a child or somebody that's in danger, that also includes older people and children, is locked in a car, and you have a reasonable suspicion that something might happen to that person, that animal, if you do not remove it, you are safe. All right. The state law is written that way so that we have a Good Samaritan law, basically. So it protects you from trying to rescue somebody. It does not mean that you can just wander around to every vehicle you find and start breaking windows, though. So we always encourage people to Look for the owner too before you go and do anything, but we also know, as we say, time is of the essence. If you have to do this, look for the corner of a window. Also, you don't want to use the windshield and you don't want to use the back window. Those are different types of glass. They're designed to shatter but stay intact. You ever seen a car accident and that windshield comes out looking like it's one intact windshield with all the cracks in it? It's designed to be held together. So don't try it on a windshield. You always want to try it on a door window, okay? So I'm gonna count down from 5. And we're gonna try this. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it didn't crack. We'll try again though. Nope, it's not gonna crack. So try something else. This happens in real life, right? All right, here we go. Let's give you a little better. Nope, it's not gonna crack. John, you got your bite stick? Yep. All right. We're gonna try something else now. We're gonna try a third device. It's just a heavy blunt object. See if we can get it to go there. Ooh, this door is tough today. Doesn't want to break.
You're breaking something.
Yeah, it does not want to break.
Great map.
Let's just see if I can get it to break. Watch out, guys. All right. It can be hard. So that's why we always say, look for an owner first. Try to get an open door first, because this is not a perfect thing like you see in the movies where it just happens with one hit. It does take some effort to go ahead. You can let it kind of slow down. So, but that's what we want to do. If you tried to do this in the middle here, we'd still be actually trying to hit. Always look for a corner, and whatever you have that's a blunt object, keep hitting in that corner. Eventually, it will go. So, sometimes tools work better than other tools. So, but we got it down today. So.
Yeah, certainly something to keep in mind, important information there, and to see that demonstration, now you know where to hit it if you do need to. Hopefully it's not something you ever have to do, but it is something that we see from time to time, and again, in the Florida heat, it doesn't take long for things to get dangerous when children or pets are left inside cars. We are still in post-game coverage right now on Fox 35, so we appreciate you joining us here on Fox 35 News Plus, live on Fox Local. We're going to continue our coverage here, but we are going to step aside, take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more after this. So keep it here. As we do go to break, though, I want to leave you, again, show you this live camera from downtown Orlando, and you can see the storms and the rain coming down as we near 5:45, getting closer to 6.
watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday evening, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. Had to think about it a little bit there. We've been on for quite a while here today. Kind of starting to lose track of my time and my days, but it is 5:45, just about, and we appreciate you joining us as we extend our coverage here on Fox Local, waiting for the start of Fox 35 News at 5, which is now going to be quite a bit later because of coverage, sports coverage, Fox Sports coverage of the Women's Euros. It was the semifinals today, and we saw Spain advance in extra time just a day after we saw England advance in extra time as well. Been a lot of great games that you've been able to watch. The final is going to be the Euros final is 11 a.m. Sunday on Fox 35, so you'll be able to watch that. Well, we appreciate you joining us. So we're getting ready to wrap up our coverage here, just a couple minutes out, it sounds like, from what I'm hearing from in the newsroom there. Yeah, we're about a little less than 2 minutes out from the start of Fox 35 News at 5. We are continuing to watch these storms moving through the area. You see it counting those lightning strikes as well. This is a live look at the